call this meeting to order. This is a budget committee meeting, the mayor and council of River Edge for Saturday, January 21st, 2017. Adequate notice of this meeting has been made public by sending notice on December 23rd, 2016 to the record and by positioning on the bulletin board in the lobby of the Borough Hall and filing notice of same with the municipal clerk. Councilman Zuniga, please lead us in salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alan, take a roll, please.
Councilman Zuniga.
Present.
Councilman Davis.
Present.
Councilman Apicchio. Councilman Papaleo.
Here.
Councilman Bartoloni.
Here.
Councilwoman Baskey.
Here.
Mayor Mignon.
Here. And we have Mr. Barbary, Constantine, I don't forget how to say your last name. Mr. Rollman and Mr. Krautheim, and Ms. Esposito here representing the Citizens Budget Committee. Okay, and Councilman Kafratis will not be able to make it this morning. For, I guess, everybody within the budget, on the citizen side, and for members of the public who may be watching, we're joined on the dais today by our newest councilman, Darragh Chinigo, who was appointed at the last council meeting. So we welcome Darragh now to his first official budget meeting.
Thank you.
And I will turn it over to you, Alan.
Thank you, Mayor. Please turn to your red books. We're going to look at correspondence 18. I'll take you through a few. This is the correspondence that we received this past week. Comment or two about here. So we're looking under the correspondence tab number 18. This is a memo from John Lynch, responding to the request that we come up with a number for repairs on the Crystal Lane. Please remember when we looked at capital last week, the police chief came up with a full replacement document, and we need to continue to make repairs. So there's $7,500 here, and we've also incorporated that into our capital schedule. The next item, number 19, is a response from the Bergen County Utilities Authority. They are asked that we inquire as to when we should be receiving our bill so that we have an accurate number to put into the budget. We have increased the budget 5% at this point. His response is that it's a little bit below 2%, but each town is an individual case due to the flow and floatables, etc. So that's where we're at with the DCUA calculation at this point in time. Next, if you go to 20, this has several pages to it. It's a copy of our fund balance policy. Created several years ago, which we are living by religiously. Since that time, if you go to the third page, which has a chart on it, I'd like to point out a couple things to you with regard to the fund balance policy. There's a chart in the upper left-hand corner. And a tape on the right-hand side. We have a minimum balance of 5% and a target balance of 8%. The minimum balance for this year is on the tape, $2,386,276.12. And the target balance this year, because it's based on our levy, $3,818,041.79. We'll be providing to you a fund balance of surplus schedule in about a week or so, and you can see where we stand with regard to these two percentages. The plan for the target balance underneath that, in order to achieve these balances, please keep in mind we have three items to our plan. That we would conservatively estimate our revenues, refrain from using any portion of the fund balance up to and between the minimum and the target balance to reduce the tax rate. Once we get over the target balance, then certainly you can look to that for tax relief. And possibly using a line item in the annual budget, such as the reserve for uncollected taxes, to create a little bit more fund balance or surplus. So that's the policy. Keep that handy. Number 21 the mayor had asked us to make an application to the direct install program for several capital items, such as the request for new windows, HVAC for the library, and notice 21 is just an email response from the Department of Public Works and Engineering that they have filed an application for that item. The next item,
Alan,
which is our
I'm sorry,
last item.
Alan, please go back.
Yes.
Ms. Hessman is indicating that we did not qualify. I would like to see what the documentation was, why they did not approve us in 2012.
Number 21 is a report from Standard & Poor's, which is our rating agency, at the end of December, beginning of January, has spent several days responding to a multi-page questionnaire from them. They do this periodically to the rating agencies to obtain current information. So we basically had a mid-year review, and this is an extremely favorable report to the borough. I would recommend that we take the time to read it through. But essentially, it raises our rating from a AA to a AA plus standard. And if you look at some of the bullet points on that first page, they're very complimentary. And certainly, credit goes to this mayor and councils of the past, and the staff here, collaborative effort to put the borough into a very strong financial position. I've also included at the end of this report, and this is a draft report at this point. Certainly, the board will do a final review and then publish it, make it public. Not official yet, but it's close to being official. And I've included a chart as to their rating scale, and you'll notice that the level that we've achieved now, AA plus, is just below a AAA rating. So, congratulations to River Edge for this particular level of achievement.
And to you, Alan.
Thank you for those kind words, but it's
And,
really a
but,
team
and,
effort.
but his point, and I'm not taking it because we're up here, but I think three of us up here almost from the beginning, when the turnaround actually began. But the other thing that's important of doing stuff is also listening to people like Alan.
Yeah.
So when he strongly advised us to do certain things and take certain positions, and even though sometimes for either it may seem counterintuitive, it may not see something you want to do politically, but at the end of the day, you know that was the best thing to get us back to where we are today. So I think you have to give credit to elected officials who actually had the patience and the foresight to live within those. No, that is just as crucial, because I'm sure Alan made very similar recommendations
And
in
you
the
listened.
years past, and other councils and the previous administrations did not.
Yeah.
And that was what led us to the problems, a lot of the problems that we ran into in 2009, 2010. And we're still not back from where we were then. So, and when we look at the history, you see the trends. We don't even go back to 2009 because everything would have fallen off the charts. So I think it is collaborative, but and the other part of this is that it doesn't end. It's not static, so it can turn around very quickly any given year. And like we've been seeing so far this year, that is still going to be our number one concern going forward, and increasing salary pressures because they tend to grow exponentially. Sorry, Alan.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Okay, let's just do a quick rundown on our summary and where we stand on the activity that we had last week. Up on the screen, you don't have a copy of this, so this is the log. This tracks all of the changes from the point when we emailed to you the listing of all of the departmental and other requests and the changes that have been made. So please remember last week we went through the capital fund. You can see over here we logged in all the changes that you made last week. The net change in the line item amendments here. So we had a couple pluses, several decreases and changes. I'm not going to go through those since we went through those last week. In addition, our personnel subcommittee met. Down here, you'll see several recommendations from the personnel subcommittee for changes to the salary budget, resulting in several reductions. There's a reduction here for library personnel, which the library director agrees to. And then there are several changes in the Department of Public Works that the personnel subcommittee will recommend to the full mayor and council. But this is resulting in some net decreases to the salary budget. In addition, here's the capital improvement fund. We have the fiscal range, the $7,500 increase, and we received from the Public Employment Retirement System a bill which was $1,284 more than what they had up on the website. It's due to a long-term disability payment that we must make this year, so we've increased the budget for this as well. So we've incorporated all of these changes into the position summary, which is what we're looking at now, and you have a copy of this in your budget, in your notebook, in your position summary tab. So if you want to take notes or do anything on that, please feel free to do so. But coming down to the bottom, as we always do, we take a look at the net effect. Right now, we're up $896,000, 5.87%. And this is broken down to salary and wages and other expenses. Now the salary and wages are at 3.48%. The other expenses are still up a little over 8%. So that's the same.
A quick question for Al. Back on the position summary, the one that you had that's currently personnel subcommittee, what is STC?
Shade Tree Commission. Shade Tree Commission has a personnel recommendation, and we moved the location on that. That's
The Shade Tree had asked for a part-time employee, essentially, to manage their administrative side. I think the personnel subcommittee realized that they have a need, but not a dedicated personnel need. And at this point, we've allocated the entire, I think it was $18,000 or something. We put it under the clerk's line, so there'd be a little more flexibility as to how those funds would be applied. Whether it means that there's some extra hours applied down the building department or DPW to take care of some of the Shade Tree things. The other issue I had thought about was we also need some dedicated hours to help this clerk administratively in terms of updating the website and things like that, which have not been done and are generally not being done. So we just moved that number into the clerk's line for now. It's still subject to further modification, but we just did not want to leave it all under the Shade Tree Commission's jurisdiction, because I think we need more flexibility if we're going to increase salaries anywhere.
Before we get to the review part of today, I just want to show you the cap calculation. This is one of the limitations that we have on our budget. It's a statutory limitation the state imposes on some of our appropriations. So this column actually comes from the state calculation itself. They perform the calculation. We start by taking last year's budget, $15 million, and we subtract out everything that is not subject to this appropriation cap, as we call it. So we do not have a cap on certain operations, such as the Bergen County Utilities Authority is not capped in our budget. This is an interlocal agreement with county to plow some of the county roads for them. We have grants that are not subject to the cap. The capital improvement fund is not, our debt service is not, any deferred charges unfunded or not, and the reserve for uncollected taxes not. So there's $4 million, a little over $4 million that is not subject to this budget limitation or this state-imposed cap. We come down, we subtract these exceptions from our budget, we come down to an amount on which the new percentages apply. And we have a choice this year, as was explained last week, between 0.5% and 3.5%. The 0.5% is $54,000. And the 3.5% is this $380,000. There is a small modification for additional construction that we can add into this, that's not available at this point in time. But, adding in the 0.5% at this point brings us to, 10,928,000. The other column, the right-hand column, I performed the cap calculation using, our numbers as they exist today, and, the amount that we have at this point in time that would be subject to the cap is 11,515,000. So we are over this amount over the cap amount, by $587,000. You are then allowed to apply, anything that's in your bank. We can keep a bank for 2 years, so we have these 2 years to work with. That brings the state total up to 11,508,000. So now, applying those 2 banking years, you're over 6,859. Now, certainly, in the past, we've gotten down to the point where we've used very little, if any, of the bank. Generally, we live within the cap restriction. We always end up complying in a statutory sense. And the mayor and council have introduced this ordinance to go to 3.5%, and we still have a lot of work to do on the $11 million number as well. So this is our position right now. We're over the cap. We have to get to a statutory compliance for this cap, and then at another meeting, we'll take a look at the tax levy cap. We also have a cap on the revenue side as well, that we have to comply with. So Mayor, that's just a summary of the cap, revenue cap. And we can move it back to appropriations and go wherever you'd like to,
Pleasure of the council.
Want to go back to capital?
I'm sorry, capital?
Mayor, they asked that we hand out last year's approved capital list. Will be coming around from last year.
I wouldn't say freezing, I'd say comfortable. Livable. Within the realm of the possible.
Alex, so at this point in capital, we still have the line item to refurb Crystal Range.
Yeah, I think, when we take a look
We can take that out.
I think that's, yeah, I have both of them now.
Just one page? One.
Alan, which ones are removing the Crystal Range? Where are they?
In your red book under position summary, we have updated capital, list of them.
We do?
In your red book under position summary, so we should be moved
You need one more?
What one?
present capital.
Ooh, sorry.
This is 2000, and you handed out the
It will be dated, the upper left-hand corner, January 19th. There you'll see the January 19th date, that's the current capital list.
So the Crystal Range has 2 placeholders right now, the 7,500, which is what John said we need to repair it this year, and then the 42,4 is,
I think we had just reduced the chief's number last time, so I think that can come out.
We reduced it to an architectural number.
Yeah, but I would take it out. That'd be my recommendation. If we decide we want to use George's engineering, we can always take.
We're gonna repair this year, we're gonna.
Yes. I think I said I'd like to try to explore some grant opportunities, see if that do a bigger improvement down there.
I'd make the motion then to remove the 42,400 for the Crystal Range repair and refurbishment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm sorry, I'm lost. I got two documents in front of me for some reason.
One,
December 16th.
Yeah, the one that we just passed around was for 2016, to just give you an idea
of
as
course, yeah.
Sorry. So removing the pistol. And which one was yours removed?
the 42,004.
Alan, the other thing going forward,
No.
in our position summary, it still has the date of 1/19. Could we just like maybe just add revision dates, so add revision dates, because it gets to be a little confusing. Mine says 1/19 still, right?
That would be the latest.
Yeah, but I mean, but we should have a running log of the dates so we know when they were. Because I go back and I get all these different versions and I get myself confused.
Yeah, this is last year.
Oh, yeah, I know. I'm asking for the other sheet.
It's in the book.
Why don't I see it?
It may not be there, but it should be like the fourth page. The sixth
Okay,
page.
let me just further back.
Oh, here it is.
I got it. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Yep, yep.
Thought that was the problem.
I'm just curious if Councilwoman Davis had a chance to meet with the fire department.
Yes, I did. Yes.
You wanna,
We had a very good meeting. They told me that Councilman Papalayo was wonderful, and told him, put anything you want in there, and I was like, I'm the new guy. We spoke about, the biggest thing was the radios. That's, I wanted to hit on that because that was a big expense. So I asked them to check and see if we do this in phases, if we could possibly get maybe the offices first, and would they be able to use the frequencies with the radios that were also there. So they got back to me yesterday and said that they would be able to use them. So, we would be able to do it on a phase-out. One of the biggest things is that with the new technology and all the new radios have man down, and you just hit something, and the old radios don't have that, and they feel that that's, very important. And the radios are, I have notes written all over the place. They're pretty old, but they seemed open to doing it on a phase, if I thought. And then I spoke to them at length about the siren problems. And they put it in there. Alan had told me about Fairlawn, and that they put a new system in, and that they don't even use it anymore, and it's the one where it speaks. Just so happens that at the GIF dinner the other night, the mayor of Fairlawn was there, so I had a conversation with him and asked him why, and he said that the problem was it wasn't too clear. So all of the phone calls used to go to the police station, so they just shut it down. So I had told the officers at the meeting that I thought that they should check with Fairlawn, which was prior to me talking to the mayor. So I didn't have answers, but I knew that Alan had said that they shut it down. So I think we're good on not doing anything on sirens at this time.
Mayor, if I could just ask Mary, we received some correspondence from Congressman Gottheimer encouraging us to sit down and talk with his office whether or not we should apply for the SAFE Act grant that closes on February 10th. I think the correspondence is in your box too. I just picked mine up. I wondered if this would be something, did the fire department bring this up? And maybe we want to see whether or not this is something we should consider pursuing.
And what is that grant for?
Alan has an answer, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the SAFE grant has more to do with recruitment and retention of fire personnel than it does with fire department.
Equipment, yeah.
So,
But I think it may cover certain other items that support that, 'cause that's what I read in the paper, those kinds. And to be honest, I wouldn't be so much concerned about phasing in the radios, because that's only a $3,000 impact on our budget right now. The items that I always seem to struggle with are the ones that we have in the first column, because that's what we pay as we go. So that's actual cash we need to develop. So right now we're at $105,000.
Right.
That's the biggest impact of the budget. So to reduce the impact on the overall budget, that's the line that needs to come down. The other lines are a problem going forward when you talk about long-term debt and bonding. But for the immediate impact, it's those small items which are really too low to bond in and of themselves, so that's why Alan just puts them as almost a cash expenditure. And so, you know, they said reducing the radios by half, it'll reduce the budget by $1,000. That's not really
A big deal.
Couldn't we take some of the items that are currently in the first column and group them together for bonding?
We do, but generally, and I don't know Alan number yet, or if it's available. Past years, I've recommended that we use some of the capital surplus towards those items. But I don't know if we're in a position until Alan finishes all of his and year-end stuff to know what our capital surplus is going to be.
Okay.
But just for everybody's, you know, purposes, that's the line that makes the biggest impact for the current year.
To the mayor's point, you have the down totals for these first two columns, 105,000 and 86,000. This is the down payment column, and this is the fully funded capital improvement fund line. So that is what's making up the budget impact. You have nothing in the budget column as well.
So if you wanted to recommend to take the sirens out, Mary, you can certainly make that motion if you want to take that out.
Okay, I recommend at this point that we remove the new siren from the budget.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Just to follow up, if the fire department or yourself wants to sit with the congressman's office, it might just be a good
I would
conversation
certainly
to
recommend that.
understand.
Yes, I would recommend it, because there might be other things available too.
I can put you in touch, Mary, with the director, no?
The
Yep.
congressman calls me all the time. Because I had met him down at the Realtor.
The new congressman?
Yes, Gottheim, yes.
Okay, so, great.
Not for here, but he just, because we had met.
All right, good.
And he knew I was running for council, so.
Just trying to go through some, I guess, the bigger items here. The 132,500 for the storm sewer improvements, is the sewer subcommittee good on that number? That's the,
That was pretty, yes, that was probably the lowest number we were able to recommend at this point, based on immediate need and to also maintain a balance in case we do get an emergency. One thing I would recommend here, though, it's not a big number, though, but we have 4,500 for public sidewalks, and then we had 10,000 for sidewalk improvement program. Alan, I'd put those under one line, and I'd probably reduce it to maybe 10,000 total at this point.
Is that a recommendation?
That'd be a recommendation I would make.
I'd make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Again, it might be something we revisit at the end, but I think for right now, I don't know if we have that.
And then I guess one of the others would be the road resurfacing, 318. I mean, just adding up the numbers and, you know, where we're at, that might be a little too much for this year's budget. I'd recommend somewhere in
I'm sorry, what,
2.25.
what did we say we had left from last time, or we had from 60
8,000
something?
or something like that.
So what did you think the total should be?
So, I mean, historically, the average comes around 2.25, 250. So if we have 68, I mean, I would think somewhere around 175 might be a number to put in for this year's budget.
Would you be okay going to 200, and then I want to review the paving list again?
For you, Mayor? Sure.
Thank you.
200 plus, please.
Yes. But that doesn't show up in our budget, the 68, that's the 200 for this budget.
So I would make the motion to reduce the line for road resurfacing 2017 from 318 to 200,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And I will review the sewer list again to Councilman to make sure that there's been no changes that would allow us to reduce that some more. The other one I was looking at, I see the library is recommending Wi-Fi for the benches, which I think is a good idea, but from our conversations, Councilman Steve, either or both, we're supposed to be getting free,
You can add that
but,
area
so
to
I
the
would,
list.
so we deduct that from this, thinking it's gonna be part of an overall improvement, so. Somebody wants to make that recommendation?
Make the recommendation to remove the 1,200 from the library Wi-Fi request to make sure that it's incorporated into the overall improvement.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And Alan, every year we seem to be getting a request for security cameras. Every year it's $5,000, and I know we've approved them in the past, which I thought we did last year. Or maybe we didn't, or the year before.
No, it looks like it was renewed.
Yeah, because I think we used money, they had money from the previous year. That was what I recall from last year. And Ann, is this a recommendation from, but was this, is this a request from the library, or was it reviewed by Chief Caridi? I'm sorry, just to recommend.
Has the police recommended?
Yeah, that I don't know.
380 to 200.
They've added cameras, I know, in the past.
There had been that incident of vandalism that I think brought this to the surface again, but I
Yeah.
don't know that we ever had the chief weigh in on its necessity.
Again, in terms of the impact of the budget, it's not much here, but I just, from a practical standpoint, it should be a coordinated improvement. Particularly, again, we go forward with the idea of a community center, I don't know whether we need to be adding access.
That would be my thought, is if you started adding security cameras, or you're gonna later create blind spots and have to have them removed if the community center gets built. That would be my only concern.
Again, it's a minor item this year, but it's more from a practical standpoint. So,
Who's the library liaison? Dario, would you like to make that motion?
Based on what I've heard, I will so move.
I don't want to. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Security cameras. Yes. Is one the ultimate. What number, I'm sorry, was the letter from John Lynch regarding the, okay, I see.
Yes.
Tom, the DPW, the hook lift and the utility truck, and I know you had a lengthy conversation with John. Are there any comments on those, the needs for those items? Have they been on before?
No, but, yes, so the hook lift would replace 2 trucks for the price of one, a 2002 truck and a 1997 truck. And John has provided what's happening to the front edge. So, the light tower is a movable light station. The backhoe was on, we removed it. John would like us to consider it in years going forward. Currently uses it 6 to 8 times. He borrows it from Fort Lee. But there is a large cost in manpower. They have to send 2 guys and a truck out there to get it and bring it back. Plus, he only uses 6 to 8 times because of that manpower expenditure. The light bar and the radio are required for the utility truck. The utility truck is rusted through. Currently it's 2002, and it also is 2002, and it's currently the mechanic's vehicle for all road calls. So we took out the backhoe.
Okay, thank you for.
But he still wants the utility truck also?
Yeah, he needs both. They're both replacing rather old vehicles, and they're also there's beginning to have safety concerns as well as rising repair costs.
And I mentioned to John also, we should also be on the lookout for a used backhoe. There usually are very serviceable ones available, you can buy from.
Yeah, I'll talk to him about that, that's a good idea.
Okay, thanks, Tom.
You're welcome.
Yes.
I wasn't paying close attention, but have you discussed the light tower again? Under the,
Yes, it's something that I think Public Works wants to have purchased this year.
they said they wanted it
And-
for work that they could do at night, or
Yes.
That wasn't the only
Yeah,
reason.
but it's,
It's also used by OEM, it's used by the fire department, it's used by the police department, it's used by our local churches when they have events, and it's used, in addition to road work at night, used by DTW when they have storms.
it's right now,
So
we
it's
have mostly borrowed from other agencies, we don't have one.
yeah, I know you've been monitoring, has that worked? Is that a?
Well, it works, I think it works if we have a planned event. Obviously, it's not so workable if we have a sewer break at night or something like that. Then you really,
What do you do if you have a sewer break at night? Yeah.
I don't know how it is.
So, I think there's several different things that occur. Sometimes what we're doing is an emergency rental that is occurring, and sometimes the construction companies that we're hiring to do the majority of the work are bringing in equipment, and of course charging us for that. But I wouldn't want to characterize it as its primary role is for sewer repairs at night. I think John perceives it as being used for many different departments for many different reasons. I don't think it would be money poorly spent. I think it would be money well spent. But if the council feels that we need to put it off another year, then, and if the assistant budget committee thinks we need to put it off another year, John would rank it in his priority list. I asked John if he was talking about it. He ranked it as important, but if he had to put it off, he could. He said it's something we should have, but if the budget got clenched and we couldn't have it, then he would continue to do what he's currently doing, which is borrowing, renting, paying for it when contractors come in and stuff like that.
I don't see it as a bad item to buy, but
Yeah,
if you're looking to remove some items from that column, that may be something you want to think about, take into consideration.
The last sewer break, which was just on Oakton, where did they get the lights for that? 'Cause it
Well, that was
lit up.
again, to Councilman's point, if it's something that the borough can't do itself, we have emergency contracts,
Do
we're
we pay
paying
for that? We did, that's what I wanted to know,
And-
because it was lit up like.
I agree with Mr. Roman, but at this point, I would be inclined to keep it in for two reasons. One, John, historically, is very, very cautious in what he asks us to purchase. And usually when he does get it to us, it's something that's either been put off for a number of years or something he really feels he's need. He's never been a department head who throws a wish list at us. And I've talked about in the past, is that sometimes you need to do that because if you don't have your items out there, they wouldn't even get considered at all. Second of all, I want to see where the capital surplus winds up being, because a lot of these items can be purchased if we have capital surplus available. And so I think it's good to hold as a placeholder for now. But if we need to get it, like right now, if we took that 8,000 out, we're in compliance with the budget cap, right? Right now, we're $6,000 over.
Yeah.
It's as simple as getting in compliance with that.
I agree.
So, yeah, so I think we'll mark it as, like, we usually do have like we didn't have it this year. Other years, we've had priority, a column. It was something else, we just want to mark as something that we'll have to come back and revisit.
I don't disagree with you. I think John does an excellent job of doing his capital and
But,
even prioritizes items and lets us know exactly when something is being done. A suggestion, and I don't know if it's possible, or it certainly may not be cost effective from a personnel standpoint, but if you could find out how much you spent last year on that type of piece of equipment, it may give you some ideas.
it's a very good idea, so.
Yeah.
The financial viability of buying it versus
The other
using it.
The other question asked, Tom, is, does New Milford and or Oradell have one, and would they want to? fly it with us.
Okay, but of course, if there was ever a snowstorm,
That's,
yeah.
that's,
Okay. So shared services.
maybe we'll buy two. Split the cost three ways, so save money. I don't know. Yes, Councilman?
Just, one thing, I think it's just not reflected, this time, it's the, DPW mechanics bay. We still
Yeah, I was
says
just looking at it.
159.
I was just looking at
And I think
something.
we reduced it to 40
Yeah, that's what my notes have too.
last time, so I just wanna make sure that that is reflected. It should be 40,000, we put a placeholder in for architectural design and.
Yeah, that was the one for architectural, Alan, not the,
Yeah, I thought I was reading it, but I kept looking at it.
Yeah.
can we,
40,000.
yes, to reflect potential architectural.
Where are we looking?
We're looking under,
Yeah, no, we had a motion and we
Under
could
building
approve that.
grounds.
I have that, everybody has that in their notes.
it's buildings and ground, it says DPW mechanics bay.
Yep.
John wants to do some additions down for the building, and we're not at the point to actually do them, but we'll probably engage an architect to scope it and price it out.
So we don't need to do a motion to feel that it's not until last week.
I'm certain.
Well,
it was.
we'll redo it. Want to make that motion again, Councilman?
I'll make that motion, to
Reduce.
reduce the DPW mechanics bay from, what was it, 159, to 40,000, and that 40,000 reflects, monies for architectural plans and design.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yeah.
Yes.
At the top of the list, you have the sprinkler system for Cherry Blossom Park.
Yeah,
I was wondering
oh.
if the mayor and council would make a good faith commitment to consider this in their open space, then you wouldn't have to.
I would think that's a good recommendation.
Yeah, I would second that.
I
Need a motion?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I deputize you, Alan. You're right, go ahead.
You're right. I'll second the Councilman Papaleo's, motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we're taking that to 5,000.
5,000 comes out.
Where are we? Alan, can you change, I don't know if you have been changing the spreadsheet, just to get us a... No? Oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
If you take a break, I might get you scared at it.
Mary, going back to the fire, the wetsuits, helmets, is that equipment that we use, or is that something that we're part of the tri-borough for water rescue?
Is it water rescue?
I thought-
Milford do that?
I thought we had different,
Or, yeah, one of the other,
They
because
said
we do
they're very
the
old.
closed in.
They're like 15 years old, and they felt that they needed new ones, because of the age.
but I thought we don't perform that service, so I thought under our tri-borough, we're hazmat, and somebody else was water, and somebody else was something. That was just that was my only question, because I didn't know if we actually.
I believe that's true. So maybe we need some clarification on that. Because I think our special units does, don't we do, don't we also do the building climbing,
Yeah, the repelling and repelling.
Right.
I don't think we do, so I don't know.
But I don't know, but maybe there is another use for them, if
On
we could
some,
just
unless
clarify.
we change, aren't we the ones with the boat?
We do
have a vote.
We do
Yeah,
have
and I
to-
think it's
but we're not-
Woodbridge that has it.
Not our specialty.
Yeah, but each.
To be honest with you, we didn't,
Okay, no, but it's just.
you know,
a
we
question.
spent most of the
Again,
time.
it's not a significant impact this year, to me, it's more about what.
Yeah, what you needed.
And similarly, with the training projectors, it is a nice thing to have, it's $6,000.
Yeah,
Uh,
we went
I'd
over
like to
that
see
lightly.
something that maybe the borough may want to have one that all departments might
Can
be able
use.
to use.
Yeah.
I would hate to just dedicate something like that.
Yeah, they were talking about, connecting with Company 2 and Company 1.
Because they're talking about this.
Yeah.
So we're,
So this projector costs $6,000, is that
no, they want two of them, but I don't know.
3,000 apiece?
Yeah, I don't know what they're envisioning, maybe they're having a different system. And
Yeah, I'm not sure on the system, but they were talking about connecting Company 1 and Company 2 and being able to do things and project it out.
But yeah, I would put that in the same category with the light tower, that if we can keep it in for now, but if we need to take things out, I think that's something. because there really aren't too many other discretionary items here. Alan, with the stormwater, with the grates and the heads, are these for replacements? I don't know what John, they're
I
all,
was looking back last year, because I think he had it in last year, I think we took it out, because I didn't have money in under the stormwater
because
budget.
we don't, they don't necessarily need to be replaced in and of themselves. They don't fail very often. You only have to replace them if we do a road that hasn't been upgraded, and at this point, I believe every catch basin in town has been upgraded to DEP standards, so I don't know whether we need that, and it could also always be incorporated into a capital project if we needed to.
Last year, I felt that this duplicated an account that we had over here. What was it? 24, 26.
So John, when I spoke to him,
See, I have this public works stormwater.
Yep.
And $9,500 here for the
Yeah.
bars and things like that. Unless we're talking about the actual.
No, the bars and the head, you could buy the whole piece for $2,500.
Even the head,
So,
consider the stormwater.
yes, so I don't think you need it both places, so.
Yeah, this,
so just to speak this for a moment, I talked to John about this. This is a $7,000 item, right? So I asked him to explain the difference, and he said this is for supplies and equipment, different types of supplies and equipment, not necessarily limited to heads and grades, if I remember the conversation correctly.
Well, to Alan's point, we still have it two places in the budget, so we don't need it.
it's related to stormwater compliance. And
I'd rather keep it in the operating budget
just
as,
outside the cap.
and I would reduce that to 7,500 and then take this 7,000 out of here. That would work. So, would someone make a
$9,500 is a historic number which came from an operating budget.
Oh, okay, then keep the
Two
95.
different items, so it's kind of a.
Then leave the 95, then I would remove the 7,000.
So just so when I go back and talk to him, we're comparing this to operations, and where in the operation budget are we comparing this to?
We have a stormwater line, now 26-5108.
26-5108.
$9,500.
And you're saying that this 7,000 and the 9,500 are repetitive in the budget.
Yes.
Okay.
Unless he's thinking of something else with regard to the catch basin, which is underground, that, doesn't relate to the stormwater regulations. But I don't think it is, because last year we had the same situation. We did, after speaking with him, we eliminated the capital side and we kept it in the operating.
Well, I would argue that any replacement of any part of the catch basin would still be compliant with the stormwater regulations, but that's, most of the time, that's gonna be either a precast structure or block. So, it's gonna be more on the manpower side to make the repair than the material cost.
We have a motion to temporarily take this out now.
Is there a motion to remove the 7,000 stormwater bars, grates, and heads?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained.
Yeah, I'm just gonna abstain for now.
Adam? Adam? Yeah.
I need a clarification. You have line, you have column A, 5108, storm water sewer system, $3,000. And then you have column A, 20, with the 9,500.
Yes. The $3,000 is the permit fee that we pay the state of New Jersey. For whatever reason they deem important.
Okay, that's 31.
That's a permit
That's
fee.
the 31 number,
That's this one here, right here.
That's different.
This is the permit number. This is to actually make repairs in the catch basin. So for instance, every time we resurface a road, the catch basins have to be up to standard with regard to the stormwater. So John goes through and he makes repairs on those catch basins, make sure they're compliant before we do any road resurfacing. That's what this is all about. The DPW.
And it's interesting you point this out, because the state is last several years been revising the stormwater regulations, and the original draft came out, there was gonna be a significant increase in, for lack of a better term, bureaucratic costs to the towns, with the new regulations, and they have not been promulgated, I'm guessing because it must have a lot of pushback from the towns. And so this is something we'll need to watch going forward, because this group, even though it's not that much money now, that can go up a fair amount if they implement all the changes to the regulations that they were talking about. It's a lot more reporting, a lot more inspections, a lot more training. So for me, I don't know whether there's the commensurate environmental benefit from that kind of bureaucratic tasking they want us to do, mapping and things like that, but we'll have to see. Alan, would you want to take a break, so maybe you could just give us even if it's a quick recap on this, so we know where we stand?
Sure.
So we'll take a 10-minute recess from that. Huh? $1.5 million. No. Okay. Alan talks too much. I don't know, Alan. You're getting disrupted now. I'll have to get the police to remove you if another outburst like that, okay?
It is protest.
Before we continue,
Yes.
I spoke to Eric Schultz, Fire Department, during break, and asked him about the wetsuits. And he said, first of all, they have 2 boats at the River Road, and it's for, the water rescue, the Hackensack River. The wetsuits that they have now were purchased when George O'Connell was chief last time in 2000. So he said that they've used, and they never had helmets. They used their fire department helmets going in, and it's, very cumbersome. Now, now, they have helmets that go with it, so,
Health and safety is, we do not.
yeah, so that's the background of it.
Okay. Thank you for that update. Yeah, Alan?
We are now at $148,180.45. I'll confirm that on next week.
And the, let's see. Okay, that's the same number.
It's her budget. So.
There were,
I have a question on these hot boxes.
Yep.
Whether these could be considered open space. Open space is for the maintenance of the public parks and the development of the public parks. So if these are replacing something or, protecting something down the park, which will save us maintenance in the future that costs $140 million. And the KBG hot boxes could be considered in that respect. Again, a good faith effort, given consideration under open space.
I think that's a reasonable recommendation.
So I make a motion to move these, a good faith effort to move them to open space and remove them from the budget.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Tom, maybe, and, the beautification, I thought they wanted to ask to purchase more decorations for, the light poles. Did we not?
No,
They
they
want-
spent,
spent-
they spent it. They're good.
They didn't want more poles for this year.
We have, we did most of the polls, not all of them, but we have reserves, and Michelle wisely got replacement parts and bulbs just in case companies go out of business or something. Last beautification meeting, there was they were very satisfied with what it was. And, but let me check on that.
I'm just wondering if, like we do with the sewer, if you want to put some nominal amount, so either $5,000 or $10,000 in capital long range, so at least they would have a fund going forward if we need to.
Well, they also have a trust other fund, you know that. I don't think this year we need it. They're looking from open space, looking for 5,000 for the sprinkler, which we just moved with a good faith, and 3,000 for plant mulch and stuff like that. So I think that and they very much don't want to, they don't want the council to think that they're looking to,
All I'm saying is they were very well received.
they were extremely well.
Oh,
And I think anything we could do to enhance that at a minimal impact, I think that we
I
should.
think there's some left. Oh, isn't there some left in the,
No, we use that for the tree that we bought outside.
oh, we used what was left for the tree. Could I
So,
speak to them and come
yeah,
back to
because
you?
if you wanted to put a nominal amount as a placeholder, again, even if it's a 10,000, you're only gonna have a $500 impact on the budget, so that's not,
Okay, so, hold on, I never marked, let me just remove the hot boxes, let me put that down. And let's put for beautiful, you wanna put it into capital, right?
yeah, I would just put it in as a,
Okay, where would that go?
we had, I think last year we called it holiday, streetscape decorations.
All right, I make a motion that we, put $10,000 in holiday streetscape, decorations, earmarked for beautification, so moved.
Your second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The other issue that I think we have to at least start looking at is some form of cleanup at Grove Street. Every time you go down and look at that site, it's just a disaster. So whether it's at least going in and removing the loose boulders and cleaning up back behind that wall, I think we need to do something there. It's unsightly, it's not.
You're talking about the old DPW
Yeah.
location.
I'm not talking about any wholesale works, but at least to clean it up and make it look clear, and then maybe we could get a
Wouldn't that
couple
be
more parking
DPW
spaces.
doing that?
Depending on what has to be done, maybe, maybe not, I don't know. But, so, we may have to add that into operating, or, yeah, there probably would not be any capital improvement. But maybe you want to talk to John, Tom, about it?
I will, but.
Yeah, I'm looking just to get rid of debris and
Okay. Just looking at the overall picture right now and where we kind of stand, and, you know, as of right now, I mean, at the 1.475, we're adding more than we're paying off this year. And, you know, we talk about our long-term debt position. Well, this will only worsen it where we are right now. So, I mean, I think we just have to go back into this and, you know, really focus on maybe eliminating some things, just because, while I think all the projects and requests are worthy, I don't know how we can, you know, reasonably afford them as we go forward. That's my only concern right now. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like
well, I think
we're gonna have.
I think what the issue
problem
there
that
is $1 million out of that is the community center, the road paving, and the hook lift.
Yeah, I mean, it's three major, you know, everything else is kind of small, and like I said, they're all reasonable. It's just, how do you prioritize them? You know, are we committed to the community center?
Yes.
You know, road paving, obviously, everyone, you know, it's important, and then, well, the hook lift. And, you know, I know
I think we
John
have,
says he needs it.
I think we have to bring John in, because hook lift is a big item, and I think maybe he needs to speak to that.
And I'm fine with that. I mean, it's just, you know, the 2 trucks that he's asking for, and when you add everything together, it's, you know, it's over
The only, and
$300,000.
you know, the issue is if we take it off this year and it shows up next year, we don't know if it's going to be, and we'll be in any better position next year to do it. And we also heard from the chief, there's going to be a police car next year, that's another 70,000 right there that we're adding as SUVs or whatever.
Well, the SUVs usually only run in the low 20, I mean, I think an SUV is only about 22.5 or something like that on the state contract. I don't think they're that
We
much.
paid 40,000.
Last
We
year.
ordered 2, we had, we 79.5 for 2 of them.
Yeah, we're,
State contract.
yeah, but,
Can you tweak the sewer one?
Again, I have to go back and look at the notes again, what we said we were going to, what projects we were gonna fund with that, so we will look at that.
I mean, I'd love to approve them all, it's just, you know,
I
don't know
think
how
we
you
really
can.
need to leave community center in. We've been talking about that for years and years and doing nothing. I mean, people have run on that to get elected, and we need to do something on that. Am I the only one who thinks that way?
No, I agree.
No, we agree.
Yeah.
Don't we get an income back,
Yeah.
right, once we have a community center, the senior program?
There'll be some offset, I would
There'll be
not, I would
offset.
not say it's going to pay for it, I would, what I would always argue is at least that the 20,000 plus we pay operating for the rental, at least that would be shifted to the debt service towards that, and that, but that would not cover, you know, 1 million in bonds, it would cover, you know, $100,000 in bonds or something like that, or, but,
Well, there is also another point. We don't have a number for the community center. We've had some informal discussions about how big the community center should be. The size of the community center is going to determine, to some degree, the cost of the community center. So, you know, that's another question that, that affects the budget, but we don't have an answer for that because we don't have a
but
proposed cost.
we do. We have a size that I don't know, to be honest, if you go smaller, it's not effective. Well, it's less than 5,000 square feet, you know.
But I think right now, in
If
the
you're,
current plan, we're talking about 3 offices or 4 offices?
there's 2 offices.
Huh? There are only 2 offices now?
Yeah.
2 offices, utility room, the kitchen.
Yes, and
And
two,
a large-
one large room and I think 2 smaller rooms.
So, I mean, that's part of this consideration too, but, you know.
And you're looking at $500,000 in site work. You have
Yeah.
parking, paving and curbing, and all those other things.
Has consideration been given to how you can charge organizations for use if necessary to possibly offset some of these costs?
I think that's something we're going to consider. I don't know whether that would be a
Again,
substantial.
minimal, but good, you know,
But,
good idea that would be.
Yes,
Just a possible consideration, would it be feasible to put together an informal or a subcommittee of some type to investigate all the items that are coming up? And if you do, I'd be glad to be a member or contribute.
we've had a subcommittee for several years.
Yeah.
We have a concept plan. We have a preliminary cost estimate. But speaking for myself, and it's Councilman Acofreda and Councilman Bartoloni, and previously when it was myself, former Mayor Mascartolo and Councilman Acofreda, we always said that we did not want to make a official plan public until 2 reasons. 1, we have consensus on the council, this is what we want to do. 2, we know how much it's going to cost. And 3, we can afford it. Those are the criteria. Because the minute you start throwing concepts out, whether it's grand or $2,000 and you can't pay, if one of those components isn't there, you'll never have a plan that's gonna be implemented. And I think right now we have a workable concept. We're getting a second review on the cost, and I think as of now, the council's seen the concept. Obviously, Dario hasn't yet, but I think as far as, at least, if you correct me if I'm wrong, from the initial concept, I think everybody's happy with the concept of the way the thing was.
As long as it has my argument is that that it needs a porch that is
Well,
wide enough.
that needs to be ground level, so we'll have a patio. area or something
Covered
like-
porch area so that when we have storms, we don't have to shut down the summer camp.
Yes, but my preference, I'd rather have the indoor space to accommodate them, not just the outdoor space.
But I don't think the outdoor space per square foot is as expensive as indoor
Well,
space.
but it's more usable. I mean, if you're gonna pay 10% premium on a overhang, I'd rather spend the money and have more. But right now, it has the outdoor space that you're advocating for.
But I just don't know how much.
It's as big as you want, because that's not gonna be a significant cost. The way right now, I don't remember what the size was.
I don't, you know what?
It was a decent size. Yes?
The 300 and, you know, what you have, the 500,000 that we're into this year, is that going to be the end of what you need theoretically?
Yes, on multiple levels though. We have, I believe, 500,000 allocated from previous budgets. This adds 500, and Alan and I think the council will have to act on it. We've identified between 600,000 and 700,000 in unused previous capital, which can be reallocated. And right now, our feeling is that would be sufficient to cover construction and contingencies, hopefully in excess. But we can't award a contract unless we know we can fund it.
Is the theoretical plan to award a contract this year?
That would be the plan.
Yes. The longer we wait, the higher the cost.
I mean, let me put it this way. I think if we get our second review of numbers and it's where we think it is, the old capital, if that's reallocated with this, if this covers the amount of what we think the construction will be, and the council is, we can tweak the concept plan, then the next step would be going to the architect, say, do the construction plans and get it out to bid. And theoretically, we could start construction later this calendar year, if things still proceed the way we hope they do.
So let's go back to what Councilman Barlow. Yes, sir.
Can you do that without the full fund being capitalized?
No. We wouldn't be able to award a contract without Alan having the monies to award it.
Believe me, I wish we could.
Can you do the project in seconds?
We've looked at that. It's not, we looked at that if the building itself would not be, you wouldn't be able to do that, just by the nature of it. It's essentially, it's a box addition. So you really can't make it smaller and then modularize. You wouldn't get the cost savings there. Where you could phase in would be some of the site improvements, but at the end of the day, it would probably cost you more to do site improvements in multiple phases, because you're talking about mobilization, remobilization, and things like that. And you're not going to get any savings in scale if you're pouring X amount of concrete, over 2 different jobs versus if you get under one job, or paving for that matter, or anything like that. So I think if Councilman Alfredo, he would tell you the same thing. I think he's of the opinion now that it's better to try to fund the entire project as it is. I think I'm of that mindset too. We might be able to phase some of the site improvements in, but it's going to be one of those things that if you do phase it in, I'm not sure whether it will ever get to full completion.
Have we explored any grants to supplement what we were putting in?
yes and no. Most grants won't allow you to do that kind of a construction. That's what, you can't use open space to build a building.
You say most, are there some?
Well, there may be that we're not aware of, that's why I would say that.
Is that something we might want to explore? I mean, if there's money somewhere there?
The problem with then you're looking at least putting the project over for at least another year. By the time you do, depending on the grant window to get the applications in, by the time they make a decision, and then by the time they award the money, it could be several years out. And most grants don't let you recoup the cost after the fact, meaning that, you can't build it and in the process apply for the grant, and then say we need the money, you don't leave it, you have to have it
There has to be
ahead of time. So let's go back to this. I think there are 3 ways we can move forward. We could just remove one of these things today, the hook lift or the utility truck. I don't think that's a good plan. We could bring John in to talk about these 2 things next Saturday, or I can go back to, or I could go back to John, say, John, if we needed to put one of these off, which one would make more sense to put off, and would it be something that you would consider a must-have for the following year? Because the 2 things he's looking for is hook lift and the utility truck, and these are 2 things he feels he needs this year. So I can ask him to prioritize which one. I can ask him if he feels he needs to come in and argue for this. But then we're looking at it for the following year.
I would have him come in just to obviously let him voice his opinion. Do you know, though, if these are like, some of the trucks we buy they have to be built to spec, and then it takes a year before you get them from the time you purchase them, or are these kind of, you can just go and get it? You know what I'm saying?
I think the hook lift is one that he could probably just go and get. I don't know about the utility. It seems like the hook lift is a pretty standard vehicle. I'm not an expert on this.
Yeah, no, because I know, like, with the tree truck, that's like some of those are like an 18-month window from the time you order it to you actually get it sometimes, so that's why I was just wondering about that. No, I know, I'm just saying, if you didn't get it this year, does that mean then it's 2.5 years before he actually gets it? That's what I'm just trying to...
But you can't commit, right?
What's that?
If
No.
we put it off next year,
Yeah.
it's really 18 months.
Yes.
Close to 12 months.
That's what I'm trying to figure out, is it, yeah.
You order it, you order it.
Yeah, no, I know, I'm just saying, like I said, some trucks, even though you order it this year, you're not getting it till 2018, or is this a truck that we order it and it comes, a month from now? That's what I was just trying to figure out.
Well, I think one of the things is, Alan, correct me if I'm not mistaken, after the council strikes the budget, there is then a processing month, so no orders can go through until like May anyway.
Yeah, the ordinances have to be adopted, and then Dean and I will assign accounts to them, and then they can place their orders.
So May would be the earliest.
It's usually the spring.
Can we go back to the fire department radios? I thought Mary said that the chief was going to phase in. Have we thought about reducing that amount for the phasing by half this year and half next year?
I thought about thirds, not
Okay.
half.
And the
Yeah,
old
but
and the new talk to each other.
Yeah, I don't know if that's,
Yes, what did you say?
The old and the new will talk.
The old and the new, I had them check on that, and they will. My thought was start with the offices first. I don't know how many that amounts to, but they have a lot of offices between the 2 companies.
I mean, I don't know, I feel like you're picking around the edges, and you know where you got to target, and
Yeah.
that's the...
well, no, if you phase it in thirds, then you bring the 71 down to about 20, thereabouts.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's a reduction of 50,000, and that gets us to the 100,000 that the mayor was talking about.
No, that's
No,
only a
that's-
fourth, yeah, it's only 5.
Yeah, it's, again,
Oh, yeah,
I'm looking at the long term, I'm talking about the short.
Yeah,
term.
I'm looking at-
But- But the fact of the matter is, if you pulled the community center out, we're under $1 million, where we would have been.
Yeah.
But that's, so we have to either accept that, or you have to, it's gonna be, all these things are gonna be funded. I don't know, putting off to next year, what that's going to do. You can reduce the roads, but I don't know if we can,
You know, long-term vision, how much more does it increase?
The principal amount?
Yeah.
I mean, we're paying,
well,
I think
Alan,
this year we're paying principal of about 1.2,
we're going up 200,000 next year.
so
So what is that?
this,
We're going-
yeah, it's about 200,000.
But that's not the whole picture. It's going up in and of itself if we don't do anything, 200,000. We're having a bond sale potentially next year. That will add, and that's still for stuff which was already approved. That's not anything new.
Right.
So now if you start layering in this, then it'll go up even more. But, you know, you'd have to look at the schedule to see, because like Alan says, every year, some of the older bonds are getting paid off, but we're trending the wrong way, and I guess that's the councilman's point. But,
Yeah, well, that's my point. I mean, you know, if you want to trend the other way, you obviously have to spend less than you're paying off. So.
The only big item on here that's somewhat not of a recurring debt, or a recurring item, is community center. And everything else is somewhat recurring. We're always gonna pay roads, all these roads need some kind of capital, so we're gonna have that issue going on. I think the issue is, we'd like to vote on the $500,000 for community center, get it going.
Yes.
With the-
Because the point, again, the only I concern, I agree, I think we need to try to move that project forward. But the problem is we have a lot of previously authorized bonding, which we haven't pulled the trigger on. And essentially that's what this becomes. You know, just because and I will say, just because we authorized the bonding doesn't mean we're going to do it. So if the community center did not happen this year, it would be in as an unfunded liability, but it wouldn't be, you know, we're not gonna go out tomorrow and borrow the $500,000 if we don't have a project. But it just keeps adding to this, liability in total, so that's where the problem lies.
So would it be, you know, would it next year or the year after, if we don't have another big ticket item like this?
But the problem is, have you seen a year yet? You've been here you've been here longer than all of us.
When was that built?
I know, and I understand, I
Do we know
appreciate your,
when
your,
that building
your,
was
your
built?
perspective, it's just, but that's,
2008, 2009?
Yeah.
the,
Was bought
The
for that
Legion.
intention, and we've done nothing to talk about it.
but you have to understand,
I do
it's a multi-million-dollar project.
I get it,
Yeah.
but we've been talking about doing this to the townspeople, year
Well,
after year after year.
yes,
We have to, I'm sorry, we have to do something.
but it has been moving forward, and.
We've been putting away money for
Yeah.
it, but we
We
also have
have.
to put away money for KGB lighting, we have put away money for fire
Right.
truck, we had put away.
And we
These
did-
are big ticket
Yeah,
items.
we didn't
I
get
know.
to Standard & Poor's telling us we're doing a good job by not
I
doing what we've been
get
doing.
that, I get that, but we also have to be responsible to the townspeople when we're talking about doing this for so many years and we don't do anything.
But would let's be one of the hypotheticals, would the town be happy that if you did that, and the taxes go up $300, and in 2 years out, when you have to raise taxes several $100s just to pay the debt service, because you didn't cut anything else out, so that's
I
what,
get it, but
that's the
last
question.
week we put that in and everybody seemed to be for it, now all of a sudden,
That's not, we do this all the time, you put them in as placeholders,
well,
so
I
you
want that
look at the
placeholder
impact,
to stay,
and
let's
then
not look
you.
at it some other thing.
Well,
I'm
we're willing to,
serious.
we're willing to listen to suggestions as to what else can be reduced.
So what do you want to reduce, Mary?
I don't know, no, I'm.
Welcome to the dais.
I'm fighting for the community center because it's been years. I mean, I heard about this for so many years as a citizen. Now I'm involved in it, and I can't believe we're not doing
And
anything.
I think we've been, as a council, I'll speak at least for this year and last year, we've made more progress in the last year getting a plan together, getting a firm cost, and coming up with a consensus than we had in the previous 5 years.
I agree with
Then I go
that.
further. I've been strongly in support of it. I know that Ellen's been strongly, Al's been strongly in support of it, Vito's been strongly in support of it, Ed's been strongly in support of it. We have been fighting for this for several years, but we've been fighting for it in a fiscally prudent way. We could have absolutely have done it 2 years ago, but we would have raised taxes big time. We would have done it 3 years ago, we would have raised taxes big time. That's what it comes down to.
The problem previously was, there was a fundamental disagreement with the former mayor, and I did not disagree with him in concept. He had a very, he had a very focused vision as to what he saw this to be. The problem was, it would have been it would have been impossible for us to fund it. You're looking at a $5 or $6 million project at a minimum. And I don't know how in any way we would have ever been able to.
And he did not have the support of the council.
But I said in concept, I
I
appreciated having that vision.
Yeah.
But the problem becomes is, and, there were suggestions of having referendums and all. I'm pretty sure that if we asked the taxpayers to fund a $6 million building, we're not gonna get a $6 million building. That's just my gut feeling. We get pushed back already with the taxes, which I think this council has done a tremendous job. Are the taxes where we want them? No. But if you look at the last 4 or 5 years, when the municipal increases have been anywhere from $25 to $70, I mean, we really can't do much better than that from the municipal portion of our taxes. Even towns that when they have these quote-unquote tax reductions, they're on that order of magnitude. They're looking in, less than $100. Now, yes, we would love to get to that. But on the flip side, we're trying to provide all these additional quality of life benefits that you have to pay for. So there's the inherent dilemma. Yes?
Just to shoot from your hip, or from my hip thought, and it may address, and I'm fast forwarding, it may address public perception. I think several years ago, they had a thermometer in front of town hall with, we got to that point, I'm just thinking again, maybe I'm off the wall here, but we knew what an approximate bottom line would be. Put a thermometer up, show the money's being, and people will know that there is movement. You're not sitting, you're addressing it, and your intention is to get it done. Just to,
I think that is a positive way to engage the public, but at the end of the day, I think what I would think is responsible on the part of the council is if we keep our budget growing less than inflation, if we keep the increases essentially significantly under inflation, but you're still able to do these other things by cost savings elsewhere, I think that's a responsible way to go. And I think that's what we've been trying to do. It's not like we want to say we're trying to fund one project because it's, the argument's going to be that, don't do it, lower my taxes. But, take it out. It's still not going to lower your taxes, and you're still going to be paying your taxes and not having the benefit of having this community space. So, again, I don't know what the answer is. I am very concerned about the long-term debt. You've heard me say it. Councilman Bartoloni is correct.
How much are we thinking that this center is going to cost us? Understanding that we're still
Yes,
here on
well,
the pages.
if we add this 500,000, we'll probably have around 1.7 million allocated.
And you said that there was a vision that the former mayor
Yes,
had, and that would be $6 million. What was the difference in what he was proposing? I'm just curious as to what it was.
Well, it was basically the size and scope of the project. I said we're at less than about 5,000 square foot, 910,000 square foot facility plan. Multiple levels, things like that, which there'd just be no way to finance it. Not even just from the construction standpoint, from an operating standpoint. When you have something that big now, you have to look at utility costs, you have to look at personnel costs and things like that.
Should we just take a 5-minute break?
Yes, adjourn for 5 minutes. We're back.
So Mayor, I just had a conversation with our Superintendent of Public Works, John Lynch, about the vehicles. I asked him to be honest with me. I said, you know, the council is trying to come to a fair and reasonable budget, and that we were wondering if we could put one of these two items off. And he had said he did not believe so. With regards to the utility truck, he feels that it is a safety hazard, and he's concerned that the frame will fail. In regards to the hook lift, he's trying to replace a 20-year-old vehicle, a 20-year-old vehicle and a 14-year-old vehicle with a new vehicle, and in addition to that, he is looking to replace other equipment or vehicles next year. And so, in his opinion, both vehicles are both needed and required for this budget year. Yeah,
Mayor,
yes.
Councilman Bartoloni and Popoli and I were talking, and the idea came up of, is that $530,000 number necessary, and is there any way that we could reduce that and still stay within the estimate that the subcommittee is going to put forward?
I don't think so. We only have $500,000 set aside right now, and assuming we even get 600 from old capital, that brings us to 1.1. This brings us probably to the outer edge or of the lower end of what we're probably going to need. So then the other option would be is you cut this year, we do not build it this year, and you put 250 this year, maybe put 250 next year, and you build it next year.
Well, the thought was if we could move that number to 400,000, and that might give us between 1.5 and 1.6 available, assuming we reallocate all the.
Yeah, but the problem becomes, now what happens if the bids came in at 1.7, we need to find $100,000? Then you don't build it.
Yeah.
Then we don't build it, but at least we have
But
potential.
for $100,000, you don't build it.
Yeah.
Then you put it up to next year, and when you rebid it, now it's $2 million.
Exactly.
And then you can't build it at all. Is the $100,000 that much of a difference? That's what I'm saying. What does the $100,000 do for you this year? No. Because if you do it and it comes in less, you're not going to borrow the $500,000. You're going to borrow $400,000. You can't do the other way. That's the problem. You can't put a lower number and then borrow more, but you can put the higher number and borrow less. The problem, that's why.
Well, the problem also is we just don't have hard numbers. We don't have hard numbers because we don't have the.
We do have hard numbers.
No, I thought you said you are getting a new.
We're getting a second review of the numbers to make sure that we're on board with it.
And the council doesn't know what those numbers are. Okay, I don't know what to do. I think that.
What was the number, 1.4?
The number that we got with contingencies and whatnot was 1.5. It was a little over 1.5.
Without site work.
That was what we got.
And the conversation that I've had is make it smaller, but you guys don't feel like making it smaller.
I don't
is a good
know.
idea.
I don't.
Smaller, make it useful?
If you
No,
go
and
smaller,
you're not
I
going.
mean,
You're not going to get. It's not going to be a linear savings in reduction. You're not going to get a 10% reduction by reducing 10% of space.
No, the space as spec'd out, I think, was only about 5,000 square feet. It's not a huge space. So if you want to meet the requirement, how you want it to be able to accommodate summer programs and score and increase space for the library as well, that really is a very
It's minimal.
yeah, it's not a huge space. I mean, this is a very conservative project compared to community centers in other towns, which then turn into these boondoggles where they have these spaces that aren't filled and
So-
the operating costs are.
So let me ask this question. If we went with the budget as it is right now, what would be the impact on the taxpayer?
Just from the cap.
But that doesn't,
Yeah, we haven't touched the
no,
operating.
does this include the changes you've booked in the operating?
Everything that I showed you on the log
Okay.
is included in that number.
But not what about the reductions in the capital right now?
Yes, that's.
That includes the reduction to the CIF of the,
So you have it linked, you have the 2 pages linked.
140, yep.
In the appropriations, 141,000.
and then what's the total increase in the budget right now? $840, yeah, that's way up. And we didn't get into it, but there will be minimal, if any, increase in revenues. So we can't even look at offset with revenues this year.
But we haven't gone line by line into our operating costs.
No.
I mean, we haven't done that.
Yes,
yet.
and there's several things we can do now which will bring that down dramatically, if you want to talk about those.
So maybe we should go to those and say the rest. John might have some problems coming before the council next Saturday, but he could come before the council, he believes, Monday night. He just has to look at what he's scheduled to be with his kids are. Want to throw that out.
Yeah, I think
You
you,
made your case.
yeah.
You made your
Oh,
case.
okay.
I don't think there's anything,
Okay.
you know.
The numbers that we're looking at for these expenditures, could we look into reducing them? I mean, if the trucks are 20 years old, do we have to buy new trucks? Are there used trucks that are maybe 5 or 8 years old? Maybe cut down that
I mean, I
number?
think John will usually tell you he doesn't have to buy those kind of problems.
Yeah, I mean, that's understandable, but if we're looking to cut down money and, you know, there's an expenditure that he feels that needs to be made this year, but maybe we don't have to go $180,000 this year on that expenditure.
I don't know enough about those trucks to.
Usually,
Maybe that's why you should come in and just talk to us about it. Maybe there is a solution here. that we
Tom,
just-
did you ask him when you talked on the phone about the ordering and when it would come?
No, I didn't. I pulled him out of his son's basketball game. I kept it simple, and, you know.
No, my thought is that if we only have to put a
but
portion
those
down.
are semantics.
They are
It's-
semantics.
No, it's different than what Dara is saying, if we had a wholesale reduction, but I don't believe, particularly with DPW equipment, people hold on to it for a long time. And usually, when they're selling used equipment, it's usually not in the best of shape. So it's less of an issue. A backhoe is something he doesn't use all the time. I would not object to him finding one that's older and may need some repair work. This is one of his frontline vehicles that he would use over and over again. It'd be less, like. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, we did not cut the radios by a third. Is that something we're looking to do? Can we do that?
I
Because we still have
thought we
71
agreed
there,
on that.
but
We didn't make a motion.
We didn't make a motion to do that, just so we have a real.
But are we gonna remember that we're gonna add a third next year and then a third year?
I think the fire department will mind us.
Yeah, no, but I don't,
Yeah, I'm
I don't
pretty sure
don't get into these semantics. We're not lowering the cost, we're just deferring it, and it's.
Well, I think it's something.
I mean, it could be part of their yearly, you know, every year they give us what needs to get phased out, get phased back in, yeah.
Mary, why don't you make that motion?
I make the motion, to lower the cost of the radios to phase it in a 3-year program, third. Is that correct way to make that motion?
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Now, and what would that reduce that from? Approximately.
$14.
Hey.
Question seats.
Still acting on the premise that we do about 140 to the real estate number, to the tax number.
Yeah, this is not gonna have a significant impact on the tax number.
You know what I'm saying,
So-
generally, when you make a reduction.
The rule, if you remember the rule of thumb, for every $140,000 to $150,000 we add or decrease, that's a $40 plus or minus on the taxes.
Right, that's, I just wanna make sure we were still
Yeah.
around that.
Yeah, I think a tax point's around 150.
It's got a reduction of 47,000.
Just while we're still on the capital, the library generator, is that something we're,
Oh, I thought we took that out.
it's still here?
Oh,
It's
It is?
here, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that,
I make a motion to remove the library
Up to the
generator.
top, for 10,600.
Oh, yeah.
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
So Alan, I have the radios reducing from 71 to 24. Is that right, or is that ballpark?
$1,000.
What?
$1,000.
Yep.
You hit the roof line.
Oh, I hit the rope line.
Okay, I did, I'm sorry. Let's leave that.
And the,
To read back to my own.
I'm sorry.
and the truck bay lighting in the Borough Hall windows, was that something that we were gonna try and
No.
defer right now and see?
No, we're gonna try to fund some of that through,
Grant?
the grant, but we still have to show the money before
Okay.
we can do it.
Did we have a decision on the fire department training projectors either?
Can we get one?
I would suggest the borough buy one and
Borough buy
loan
one.
it.
I,
Load it out.
I agree with that.
So can we?
I'm sorry, Mayor, I'm losing track.
Yeah, I'm sorry, catch up, Alan, then we'll get back to you.
Down to 0,
Yes.
and then I haven't heard anything else.
Okay, then we're talking about, we did the generator is coming to 0. We were going, then, we're talking about the, where was that?
I don't know if Alan,
The
got
training
the
projector.
radios, did you do that?
Yes,
Yeah, we
we did
did.
radio.
Yes, I have enough.
He didn't update it,
We'll give you a minute to,
All right, I have the generator.
all right.
Go ahead, George, continue your discussion.
We're talking about the projectors.
Projectors.
Do they need the projectors to communicate with each other? I mean,
I
is
think
that why they need it?
That's what he, that's what,
that's the wish list.
yeah.
So then, if that's why they need it, what good is one?
Okay,
They're training projectors.
yeah.
So they're in two different spots, right? And they have like a FaceTime kind of thing with each other. That's what I'm understanding?
No, I thought it was a projector for complementary
I don't know how
I
projectors
think
do
it's
that. I
for
mean,
training purposes.
so the projector's not gonna allow them to do it if that's,
Yeah, no, I don't,
yeah.
I don't,
They said projectors, so.
I just heard something that I thought it was Mary who said that they wanted to communicate with each other.
Yeah, I don't know how the projectors.
I don't know
I think we
where,
take the projectors out for this year.
are they two different things here?
I think maybe we take the projectors out for this year.
I don't wanna make that motion.
I think Tom did.
I just made that
Good, I'm
motion.
glad,
Is there a
because they
second?
told me you gave them everything last Start taking away.
We're doing this, Mary, so that we can do the community center, so.
You've been a very strong advocate,
We
Councilwoman.
all should be behind.
So are you seconding that motion?
Nope.
Councilman Bartoloni, second that motion?
No.
Okay, do we have a
I've had
second?
enough problems.
Come on there, Dario, be my friend, second it.
I'll second the motion.
Good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Anybody?
What about
Has
the
it
light
been-
tower? It was something that we were gonna revisit, so
We can take it out if you wish.
I'm not gonna make that motion, I'm just asking
Well,
if we should consider it.
hold on, I gotta, one second. Alan and I are falling behind.
Probably won't make it.
Yeah.
It's a safety.
The light tower probably makes sense, I mean,
Well, I was gonna look
to
at
have one in town.
I would,
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Share with you right now.
No need to look back, I think we agreed on it.
Okay.
For that.
So we're
so
going-
how about we go down the list from the top and let's see where we stand, okay? So, sprinkler system, we moved that to open space.
Mhm.
The AD listening device, I think that's something we need from a compliance standpoint, so I think we're keeping that, right?
Mhm.
HVAC library, we took out. Library AC, we took out. Truck bay lighting, we're keeping for now. The windows, we're hoping we're gonna get partial funding through the direct install program. Mechanics bay, we have reduced that to cover architectural services.
Maybe we wanna
We may
remove
want to
that.
revisit that. Hot box, we're gonna move to open space. Sewer pump, we're keeping in. Public sidewalks, we combined that with the other item and made it That's number Alan, is
10,000.
10,000. Arbor generator out, community center we're leaving as is. Office desk, do we need $1,200 for an office desk? Who's that? Construction office. Is that based on an estimate? I didn't look at the correspondence.
I'm pretty sure it was his cost, the desk was broken.
No, I'm not saying they just need it, I'm just asking if that was an estimate or if they actually had a cost report. I didn't look at the correspondence, so I don't know.
Is that out or in?
No, leave it for now.
Leave it in.
Just- I'm just asking.
Let's stop for a second, though. Alan, have we removed the hot box and the 2 hot boxes from the capital?
Yes, sir.
Have we removed the 40K for the mechanics bay?
No, we reduced it to 40.
I'm gonna move that I make a motion to remove the 40K or bring the mechanics bay down to 0.
I'll second that. I shouldn't have said it like that.
A lot of emotion in your your motions. Emotions in your motions.
There is no documentation for the office.
No, okay, so it's probably just an estimate, but that's fine.
Okay, so deleting this.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I think that's gonna cause us a problem going forward.
That should have
I
come up
thought
on
the
the
40,000 was high for the estimate, but that was the estimate we'd gotten from an architect. So, we may look to get proposals and maybe there'll be enough money in the engineering budget to do some of that, because that's something John has been trying to do for several years also. And, I think it's something that has to be looked at, because it's a matter of efficiency, it's a matter of organization, it's also a matter of safety in some respects, but not crucial to do the changes he wants down there.
I think we have to seriously think about it next year.
Yeah.
Or you
Maybe
think we're
priority.
gonna be able to find some money in engineering operating?
Well, that's, we had tried to put some, I thought the proposal for 40,000 was quite high to do the
So we can look
architectural
at it
work.
under operating.
Okay. DPW, hook lift, we're keeping in for now, utility truck we're keeping in, light tower we're keeping, backhoe has been out, light bar radios are in. Edmunds computing, we're keeping in, fire hose, keep, turnout gear, keep, wetsuits, SCBA, pagers, in, projectors out, radios reduced to 1/3, siren out, rescue rope and equipment, keeping the same, Knox boxes keep the same, the printer.
Did we make a motion to remove the siren? I missed that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we said that Fair One had it, and they had some problems, and, yeah.
Yes,
No,
No, the
that's
radio.
radios.
radios are there.
With the final number on the road, we went to
200.
200.
And we have 68 left from
Yep.
last year.
Storm we took out, it's duplicate from operating. Sidewalk pilot was combined with the other one, public meeting room for library was out. Security cameras, we're keeping those in.
No, I thought
No, we took them out.
No,
we took them
they're
out,
out.
right. Wi-Fi we took out. Copy machine, PD 6700, keeping that as a purchase item, I guess. Computer replacement, that's standard, traffic sign is standard, tough book, that's a standard replacement. Curtains for the pistol range, body armor, radios are the same. Pistol range we took out and just substituted a 7,500 allocation for repairs.
Just as we're talking about traffic sign replacement, and we always get a update on damaged property, public property. Are we going after if there's a traffic accident and somebody takes out a pole or takes out a sign or whatever, are we going after those people? Do we, okay.
We usually don't.
Shade trees, signs, yes.
Okay.
Light poles should be
Well, that's,
subject to replacement by PG&E.
yeah, but I'm just saying anything, like that's the town property. I just want to make sure we're trying to reduce that one.
Okay, so we're at 1372. 130, 190 in terms of our impact on this year's budget.
Okay. Well, that's 18,000, this one, a little while ago.
All right, cool. So we're gonna, yes. Well,
Yeah.
one sec.
Or maybe you could just.
Wait, okay.
You said it was being funded through, you have for your bond issue, correct, previous bond issues, roughly $1 million, and 600,000 from previous bonds?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay.
If you look, Al, in the correspondence, it's number 17, it'll show you a breakdown of the funding. Did you want to go through,
We'll start with operating.
and the first one that hits me is the legal services.
Okay.
It's up 75,000 from, oh, I'm sorry, where is it? 1552. Yeah. Last year we allocated 150,000. Looks like we spent about 140. And the proposed number this year is 225,000.
Yep, I think Alan can speak to it, but I think he has money in there, again, potentially for the Riverdale case and 7-Eleven litigation. I think we probably
This is the parking request, which was penciled up by me. Frankly, your guess is as good or better than mine on some of these things. So what I do is I put together a little sheet like this, which kind of can try and show you where the money is, my best guess. So in 2017, I got $10,000 for professional services, appraisers, we need a judge to adjudicate a police matter, any type of expert witnesses, supporting services for legal. And I've got, for the planning board, assignments beyond the retainer for the planning board attorney, $3,000. And then I have a series of COA allocations for a planner, which is duplicated under engineering. So if you tell me where you want it, whether it relates to, an appeal of some sort, and you need a planner, that's why I put it in here, but there is a duplication here. We have to pay the bills of a COA master at this point, and the COA attorney, $10,000. The zoning board attorney for assignments beyond the retainer, $3,000 here. We have the retainers for both the planning board and zoning board attorneys, $4,500. And then we get into labor relations for grievances, primarily police grievances. But should DPW go to arbitration or third party, then we would need the labor attorney. In addition, I may need advice on grievances that come before Personnel Subcommittee and myself. Personnel Subcommittee needs different legal opinions from time to time. So $5,000 for labor attorney here. And I do have for litigation, if there's any personnel or labor litigation that's unnecessary, the labor attorney would handle it. There's $8,000 here for that. So collectively, that's here for the labor attorney. The borough attorney has a retainer of $20,000, and for extras or additional billings, $15,000. Some of this would be for the 7-Eleven case that we would expect to come in for this year. Coming down a little bit further, for the Riverdale dissolution case, we have a little bit more, another appeal going on here, so I have $35,000. The last time we paid a bill was on December 31st, 2014, I think, which was a $60,000 bill, but I think we're beyond the bulk of the legal matters, but certainly those of you on the council might have a better idea than me as to what that bill might be, but I'll show you the letter he gave us in a minute. Employee litigation, we do have one employee that is disputing a separation So I put a little bit in here for the employee, but this could be considered a duplicate of the, what did I say, the 8,000 up here possibly. For 7-Eleven litigation, I have $30,000 here, which would be our expenses not supported by the excess liability insurance fund. The tax appeal attorney is a hard number. Historically, that's pretty much what it's been. These, police department labor attorney and DPW, these are amounts put in so that the department heads can just pick up the phone and access the labor attorney without going through me. The department heads are supposed to go through me for, direct conversations with the attorneys. Once I get approval, then I have a way of tracking what's going on. We have nothing for prior year labor attorneys, and then I have $10,000 for redevelopment attorneys. So the total is $225. The area where you might have more analysis and information is really these three areas here, the $35,000, $30,000 7-Eleven litigation, and the $10,000 employee litigation. Now, I'll just show you the letter from the attorney for this is the firm representing us in Riverdale. And he had a very minor billing in 2016, but we're trying to get him to get his bills in on time. So this is the paragraph that goes to where we stand with the appeal.
We didn't encumber any money previously, based on his original estimate.
For him, I might have a little bit in accounts payable. I'd have to check that, man. I might have a little bit put away.
What are those three columns again? I kind of lost track of them.
Well, let's go back.
Yeah. Yeah, just, we'll deal with it.
Huh? If it changes, we'll deal with it.
Yeah, but I think we can go to the one thing.
I don't know whether we need more analysis, Councilman, do you want to?
Unless other people have questions, I mean, I
Plus the data charge and requested.
know myself and my thought process. I would just argue to go back to the 150. I don't see that we're going to really incur any costs with the Riverdale litigation. I mean, I don't know when the appellate division will or won't render an opinion, and then obviously maybe there will be something if our neighbors to the north are unhappy with that and petition the Supreme Court. But I don't know that that's going to happen this year, so I think we could probably look at that as well. And then obviously anything dealing with the other pending litigation, I think we can.
Do we need a motion on that?
Yeah, I'd make the motion to just reduce it from the 225 back to the 150.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? I would do the same with engineering. We've been living within our 70-ish for a long time, and really seem to put a lot more in than we wound up doing, and I would think we could probably. Sorry. Oh, sure. I'm talking about,
1652.
the one right below legal. Last year budget was 70,500, spent 73. We're up to 219. If you wanted to keep it 73, go to 70, 75, anything in that ballpark, I think is probably.
I would make a motion to reduce it to 75,000. I think that would be sufficient.
Why is it so much higher?
You'll see, what I've been doing is just trying to identify projects that we had or that might come up. We can go through these, but certainly, it's the best guess as to what goes on. There is some duplication here. There's some things that, would be financed through capital, so there's a lot of overlap. I have to admit, it's not a hard number at all. I don't know, do I have historically what we've confirmed here? I think I do. Yeah, historically, these are the budgets that we calculated. This is what's been paid or charged. You can see we had a very high number of budget and paid or charged back in the early 2000s. Prior to that, our numbers were a lot lower, but the mayor's right, we've been fairly consistent with this particular range over the last 10 years.
Thank you.
Yes, Ken.
We
I said, did we
didn't vote.
vote?
I made the motion to 75.
In the second?
Second.
So Somebody seconded.
Did someone second?
Mary.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Yes, Ken?
2010-12, we budgeted like 21,000 last year for public information. We only used 7,300 to date, but yet we asked for a $3,000 increase over last year.
What number?
What number is that?
2010-12.
Yeah, I think part of that, we'd have to check. I thought some of it had to do with some of our IT stuff, which we didn't implement last year, that we're hoping to implement this year. No, I'm just thinking out loud, so, yeah, I think that was,
Didn't know why we only spent $7,000.
because we didn't implement any of the improvements we had thought we were going to. We're probably be in a better position to do that this calendar year.
Is this like website and things like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going down there, just looking at things that, they just jump out, because you go, there's been an increase of several percentage points. It was, what was it, salary and wages planning, 1801, there's a 170% increase, so that obviously jumps out. Any ideas?
Which number?
It's,
21-1801.
That probably has to do with COLA, I'm assuming maybe a duplicate. And I don't know if you read or heard about the
Yeah.
Supreme Court decision, it was not what most people expected. It's not what towns were hoping for,
no, it's a big mess.
so I think they made, I think they made a bigger mess of the
Yeah.
situation. So, but I think we have monies in other lines to handle some of that, but that's gonna be a problem.
So I'm just, can we bring that number down and,
Yeah, I went out to see if there was a,
yeah, 1801. Which one?
Garbage and trash.
Yeah,
Oh, no,
No,
shade tree.
22?
I wanna go to one before that.
Yeah, cool.
With what Alan do,
Yeah.
Because I'm curious about 2010-2. We budgeted 25,000 for administrative and executive, we used 8,000, and then we budgeted again 25,000.
I'm sorry, again.
Yeah.
No, I'm just generally
Just
talking.
talking around, yeah, talking around.
Yeah.
Which line was that?
The one I just mentioned, 20-1002. We budgeted 25 last year, we used 8, and we're budgeting 25 again.
Yeah, we had anticipated additional ADP services out of there. I think there may have been expenses related to promotions or hiring of officers in here.
so that probably
Bring
take.
that up, and we can discuss it.
Did you get an answer for the planning board first, Alan, or no?
It's not.
Well, that's the one he asked first, that's why.
Well, then we have to stop and give you a minute to do it, or I can get back to you on it.
Yeah.
Which,
We'll stop.
No, you want to stop? You wanna stop? Okay.
Just help me understand, if you didn't spend it last year, where does it go?
Surplus.
From a plus into surplus?
Mhm. That's part of the good and bad in a way, And in some cases, what I've actually asked, what we've done this year, particularly with some of, more on the planning and on the engineering side, where we've started, we may have allocated monies last year, and we didn't spend it all, but what I asked the professionals to do, and they've done it, I told them to write proposals last year, before the end of the year. So what we did was, Alan was able to encumber the money from last year, so we didn't have to add it this year. Because what happens is, like you said, we may have allocated $25,000 for Planner A. We don't spend it, it goes to surplus. Now we come back, we want to do it this year. Now we got to add it back in, and since our surplus policy is very rigid, you can't go and say, well, maybe you should deduct that out of the surplus because we didn't spend it last year. We're not allowed to do it that way. So, I try to encumber the money in the previous year so you don't have to duplicate it going forward. We've done that in several cases.
So Nicole Florio, who was our tax collection cashier in the tax collection office, was switched to the zoning planning office. So we prepared the zoning planning to take the bulk of her hours, but there's still a possibility that she may, and she still does, support the tax collection effort in the absence of the tax collector and during tax time, et cetera. So we're going through a year of transition to see where the bulk of her hours will be spent. I anticipate that being in the zoning and planning area, but I still have some hours built into the tax collection side as well. So that's why you see this dramatic increase in the zoning.
But is it a transfer or are there any duplicate hours there?
There are probably some duplicate hours. It's difficult to determine without some experience as to where it's going to be and then see how it's actually charged out. So probably next year, we'll be able to refine it a little bit better. We're going on to the administrative,
Yes.
Yeah, I was asking about 20-1002. We budgeted 25,830. We used 8,141. Again, we're budgeting 25,800. This time, 27. So I'm wondering why we're budgeting that much, given how much we actually paid and committed last year.
What number is this?
20-1002, first page, about halfway down, a little less than halfway down.
Yep, thanks.
I think we're giving the council president a raise.
Really? Well, did I mention anything about this? For the public, that's a joke.
I don't joke, huh?
It doesn't make a difference, it's on video.
here's the public information line, if you're interested. This is what we have it broken down into. We'll come back to your, Councilman.
Sure.
There's website maintenance, modifications, 1,000, the domain names, 250. Emails, the emails are supported through here with maintenance, $3,600. Message board, in case we need an electrician, $500. Reverse 911, non-emergency, and Mixel, a non-emergency. This is to support those vehicles or communication. Wi-Fi, $250. Social media, we've got Facebook, $100 each in here. Cable TV, and now I've included TV meetings, closet, maybe you can close that for a closet, $6,000. So that's the whole 24. You're right, we did not spend quite a bit of this last year. If everything goes as planned and we're fully up and running, you're going to need some money to support these particular services. There's just an extra $5,700 for any type of IT person or anything, especially with the new TV. I'm not sure what services or we might get bills from cable. That's this year's estimate?
Yes.
So how come we spend only 7,000 last year? We didn't have the same expense?
No, we didn't do any of it, that's what he's saying. A lot of those things we didn't do.
We're hoping to be a little bit better. Well, some of that equipment will get purchased this year. That will happen.
And we have to transfer email services. We're working on that now.
All right, so this is my budget, and professional services, 13,600 to 10. A number of other items here, but let's focus on that one because that's the driver on this particular budget. So my detail down here for you. Still don't know where we're going with Obamacare. We have to implement the cafeteria cafeteria flex plan for the police department, bargaining units, because that's negotiated this year. Not sure of the cost yet, we're interviewing companies at this particular time, so if we don't use this 8,000 for the Obamacare, we may need it to support the flex plan, which we have to get in place this year. Medical testing for any police officers, $1,000. I eliminated this testing, because we've hired a series of police officers in the prior year, and we don't need that this year. But the big driver here is this cafeteria plan. Could be less, I really don't have any idea at this point in time. We have
But Alan, go to
three companies.
the top, no, all the way, I thought you had 13 in the budget, not 10.
I have 13.6 here and down to 10.
For this year. Oh, for this year.
So this is actually down, but it's still $10,000. I can show you the trend, and I have employee physicals, because I have to do additional drug testing this year.
But where's the net increase from last year then? That's down, because if last year was 25.
Last year he put in 25, this year he put in 25, but he only used 8.
He only used 8.
So what, that's, I'm looking, where's the difference?
I paid a charge.
So the difference wasn't that 13,000 line, that was,
Here's the paid charge.
Yes.
Most of it was in this
Yeah.
line up here, which we didn't need for the Obamacare, but we're only in this year. We paid the ADP at your line, I think, instead of my line up here, even though I anticipated with the protection. We charged payroll services around what, about $10,000 because of Obamacare, because of the forms we have to generate. We haven't changed our software.
so are you saying there's no real room for any reductions on this line?
No, he said that it was 8,000 guesstimate.
Next year, you can see the same thing, that was their idea of what this flex plan costs, where we're going with Obamacare, of course, by then we could
By then, we could be done with it and on to something else.
and then you could be into the Cadillac tax.
Right, yeah, you don't know.
Quick question on the employee physicals. Do we have to do additional testing?
I have to do additional drug testing this year. I can't go into that more than anything like that.
Wanna make a motion?
How does, reduce it by 58, reduce it to 20,000, or is that unreasonable or not enough?
But the president just signed.
I don't know if I go that far.
When the Obamacare giving the freeway to.
How would we, and like.
No, reduce it to 20,000, not reduce it, take out.
During consensus here, where's the
You're
So it's the,
take it down to 20.
Why don't we look at some?
I think Obamacare is not going to be there. I think the Congress has made it very clear that they intend on stripping it. So, I mean, I wouldn't take out all 8,000, but I was thinking about taking out 5,827, taking the number from 25,000 down to 25.8.
But the reporting requirements are still
Yeah, this
here, though.
reporting
Well, it's not just the
1095
Obamacare,
Cs
it's also
and
this
all that.
cafeteria now. I have to-
Yeah.
I have to
So,
pay this
how much-
contract.
Next year.
How much is the cafeteria?
Yeah,
plan?
we don't know.
They vote,
I just
I
recently
think next
started
year we might
talking
be able to
about
realize
All right.
the reduction.
It's gonna be a process.
then we'll leave it.
Not a high priority, trying to do something right now. I gotta get through this.
Okay, we'll leave it, we'll leave it.
I don't think.
Are we leaving it?
All right, we're gonna, all right.
I think the next line we should look at. 263053. This is the reimbursement for garbage for the apartments.
Yeah.
Again,
I'm sorry, give me the count again, please.
263053, the apartment, the reimbursement for the,
Everybody, we're on page 2.
Yes.
Can I ask, before we go to the one before that, 3022, 3021 Shade Tree Commission, why is there such a big bump?
which one?
3022.
We're on the 25, okay, we're on the 30.
26, 30, 26.
26.
We had 22, we spent 21.6, and we're going up to 60.
Really?
26,
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes,
3022.
I just want to ask.
Should I not have asked you?
No, I'm curious about something, but I don't want to ask.
That's kind of like how I felt when I got the guts to do it.
No, I don't, I've been there and I don't want to do it again. I know. Yeah.
Why is, oh, okay.
Wait, where are we on?
30, 22,
Okay.
21, and 22, I don't know what the story is. One we go from 0 to 18, and the other we go from spending 21.
Well, the salaries is
67.
addressed on personnel, so that's not there. It's the O and E we're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, I would reduce it back to the 22.
Well, let's see what they added, and then.
Well, I saw it, I mean, that's, I read.
Because if it's stuff that can get open space, then it's open space.
No, it's really like a professional service.
You're paying for not taking the insurance?
That's what it was.
Hmm? That's $900.
So Elizabeth's sending me the budget, but I haven't had a chance to look at it yet.
I'm not sure I understand it.
There to give you.
Because you might want to-
Start using it.
Don't take it. What is under the corner?
I'm sorry, Alan.
They're the Blackfoots. All right, so 26, 3022.
Yeah, I'm looking on my account. Liz has not sent me a copy of the budget yet. It was simply mentioned at Thursday's meeting that the budget had been submitted.
I have,
Really?
Here it is.
For the plan.
So here's the driver.
The driver-
Planting, 22,000, stump removal for 12, and they have some sort of a preventative program for $30,000. The tree planting, they may even have money in the capital.
Now they spent all that. Yeah, that went to zero.
Now, I asked them about stump removal when I was at their meeting. They said that they've encumbered the money from last year's budget, and stump removal is going to be done. 273 inches of stumps are going to be removed.
Out of how many?
All of them. They said they're taking care of every stump that had been reported up into October.
Okay.
No, up into September. So, here I have notes.
So what they've encumbered plus this 12 is what they need to do all the stumps.
No, the stumps, well, they have, hold on, give me a moment to go through my notes a second. Okay, so there are, up until at the end of September, there was 128 stump sites. They have, and that they bidded it out at 2,336 inches. And all of them, they said, they talked to Alan, they've encumbered the money from the 2016 budget, and starting in, I guess, March, the stumps will be taken care of. So all of the stumps from last year are already paid for removal.
2,000 inches.
2,336 inches for 128 stumps.
And
Now,
that's
but
paid
they
for.
did tell us that stump removal has gone from, several years ago, it was $2.73 an inch, $2.73. Now it's up to $5.16 an inch. And that we do an average of, there's about an average of 30 inches per year, and they're estimating that every year they need about 13,000 for for stumps. Is my notes.
Mayor, there's 30,000 I can see on their sheets for this emerald ash borer. So I guess they want to replace those trees that are susceptible.
No, that is
But
not
before,
correct.
before.
Let me explain that.
No, I understand the stumps first, before we
Okay.
move from that. We had started discussions with New Milford regarding a shared service. Did we ever get any
So-
costs on with that?
They're still working on that. They went and looked at renting a stump removal machine. A non-commercial stump removing machine is $200 a day, $700 a week. It's a 20 amp, 500 to 600 pounds. They have not been able to find a price for a commercial one. New Milford, Stump will reach out to New Milford Shared Services. We still are not sure whether New Milford wants to do shared services with us.
They didn't say they weren't, no.
We had a meeting with them, and they were going to come back to us with their proposal. They haven't done so.
Can you please follow up with that, Alan?
Yeah, but it's up to them to provide us with, I'll give them a reminder that we're awaiting the proposal.
So let me talk about this emerald ash thing. They explain that in great detail too. So there is a killer bug, an ash killer bug. It's called the emerald ash bug. And it has been moving from Colorado east. It is estimated that it will be in New Jersey this year. The problem with this bug, unlike other bugs, is that they attack the sap producing or ability or capability of a tree, and the tree dies rapidly. And when it dies rapidly, it becomes a public safety hazard. In fact, they said there is video, I don't know if it's on YouTube or what, where you can actually see these trees just collapsing all of a sudden. They just go through a critical failure stage within 2 years, and then they just fall onto cars and people and things. And so it becomes a public safety issue. In addition to that, once the tree has been compromised by this bug, it can be a danger to public DPW workers removing it, because the tree becomes so brittle that as they go to cut down branches, those branches can collapse before they're cut through. So their thinking is, and I'm not advocating this thinking, I'm simply reporting this thinking for anybody who might be wondering, is that the cost of treating these trees to prevent them from becoming acceptable is cheaper than the cost of encumbered in replacing and removing these trees. So that's where they're getting this number
And that's
from.
the 30,000 is for that?
Yes, and that's the only reason
Spring operation?
I think what they do is they drill a hole and they put in this chemical, and so each tree is so much money. They have a catalog of how many trees we have. So it's to prevent the emerald bug from killing the ash trees.
And do they know the rate of success?
I did not ask them that. That would have been a great question for me to ask. I did not.
And I know we have a lot of ash trees along Fifth. Do you know how many we actually have?
They have a count on that. They did not have that information available at the meeting, so I do not know.
Does Shade Tree perform this maintenance program, or do we hire someone to do that?
I would assume we hire someone.
And
Yeah.
could that be a shared service savings with another municipality?
Well, that's a great idea.
We're not the only,
We're not the only ones that are gonna have to.
Right.
In fact,
And
that
I was
might
trying to look
be.
at my phone, I had gotten a correspondence, and I couldn't remember, it was from DEP or somebody, there was an actual grant program also, whether it covered this, but it had to do with the ash borer situation, but I couldn't find it right away.
Emerald ash.
But the other problem is that, correct me if I'm wrong, Alan, I think the interpretation has been that we can't use open space for shade trees.
I could bring it to the Riverside Cooperative. just to
Yeah.
find, if they have any other
The
experience
county's
in this, or
implementing the program
interest
too.
in-
Yeah, because if
It would
shade,
be a month away before I would do anything here, you still have to decide what you're gonna do with the budget.
I think the planting, I had, I don't know, there has to be a happy medium. I'm glad they're finally catching up with the stumps, because I
According to
suggested
them-
it's a priority.
they took care of all the stumps, for the last 2 years, they've taken care of all the stumps that were in the town up until the end of
Well,
September.
but we still have 2,000 inches, you're saying they do this year.
Yeah, I'm just telling you.
No,
that-
so I don't know how you can say that up to date if there's still 2,000 entries.
Well, I thought he said they encumbered from last year's budget, everything up until September.
That's what they reported to me.
I don't know how they could have done that at that, if it's,
This year, next year. So 12,000 is anticipated for. Yeah, I think that's, there has to be an ongoing program.
but 5,000 or $5 an inch is, if there's 2,300, I don't know how much we gave them last year for stump removal, but.
I think they I think that they report that we lose approximately 100 trees a year.
So should we be looking into buying our own machine to do this?
No.
They don't
Uh,
have commercial.
They would have to be maintained, it's liability, workers' comp wise, with somebody getting hurt, it's not a very, it's a significant machine. It's not used every day, so if anything, we're leading to a shared service.
And that's why I think that's the best answer, why they would not want to participate.
You know, it's something we look at, but we're looking at any alternatives also.
Yeah, John had advocated several years back, he did not want responsibility for having one and operating and maintaining.
It's $5 an inch regardless of the diameter of the stump.
Right now, it's $5.16. 2 years ago, it was $2.73. Shade Tree went out for a bid, and nobody came back. It's Shade Tree's opinion that people are just getting out of this business. That's why they went to look at stump rental and trying to get an idea on that.
But going forward, I don't know why shared service
But
would
if
not
you
work.
go as a private citizen, you rent it from the Home Depot, they don't tell you about liability, so their responsibility. So,
Yeah, but we're a public entity.
I understand.
You lose your arm all too bad. Our DPW worker loses their arm.
Those machines are designed to be used by people with little qualification.
That's true. But I mentioned that it's not a commercial grade machine. So, yeah, we could, but, so the way the machine, as it explains to me, is it comes down and it moves left, left, right. But it is, because it's not commercial grade, it would take numerous hours for it to do a stump, a commercial grade. So then you're talking about manpower, you're talking about a truck and 3 DPW workers, usually.
But at the end of the day, that's not the controlling factor.
No, it's not, but I'm
So
just
we-
throwing that in, that's part of the
To
consideration.
decide whether we're gonna reduce it or not.
No.
But, so right now, how many stumps do we have?
With 2,300 inches of stump to be removed.
Yeah, 128 sites, 128 stumps.
Having the ones that we didn't treat from last year, we didn't take it out from last year. It's a recurring balance.
I don't understand about
Do
29.
we have something left over from last year into this amount? or-
No, we don't. They spent all the money.
Just new ones.
Yeah, so starting in December, they've cataloged all the stumps from, no, let me rephrase that. As I understand, they've cataloged all the stumps from October of 2015 through September of 2016. At that point, they went to Alan, they said, this is what we have, this money's been encumbered. I don't know if there's money left over, I assume, I don't know. And then they got a bid, and from a bid, they did this. And so they were able to take care of all 128 stumps that had developed or become a fact in town up until the end of September. October, they begins a new round for them. But the stumps don't get taken out until March of this year, but they're being paid in 2016's budget. And now we're looking at 2017's budget, which again would not be done until 2018.
And you're expecting 100 trees,
They-
12,000 represents the cost to remove.
That's
estimated cost to remove.
Future,
Yes.
future stumps.
As I understand it.
Okay.
I personally think this issue of the bug is an important issue, but I think before we put it in our budget, you may want to see if the co-op wants to. I think we immediately reduced it by 30. The other numbers we can talk about, but I would think we would probably want to leave the stump in, remove the bug treatment 30, because either,
Sorry, to cut you off, but I think that we should look at the other way. I think that you should take out the plantings, keep the 30, because we're gonna have to me, if it came down to planting or the ash, I think we'd do the ash.
We have to do the,
Okay.
And then the money would be there in case we don't get the shared service.
okay.
And just looking on the state's website,
But do we have any kind of feedback that the treatment that you mentioned is?
I would, these
people are super-
Yeah, I'm not doubting that. I think if this is probably the recommendation they're going.
the only area thus far in Bergen County where this emerald ash borer has been seen is in Hillsdale. Otherwise, there's not an active infestation really in Bergen County as of yet.
No, they did speak to that. They said you cannot treat the tree after it's become infected.
Oh, that's a preventive maintenance.
It's, yeah.
But I think that that's the priority the council needs to make, is if we think that's gonna be the issue, I would put the money for that. And
So the ones that are infected.
if they don't do it, then they can use the money for something else, but that's what I would recommend.
So the ones infected, we have to count the ones that become a stump,
Yes,
right?
yeah, an emergency stump. Because it would,
But the question is, after remove, how long do we have to wait till the bug clears out in the area so we can put another tree?
either way, I just think
You don't plant ash, it's only specific to ash trees.
Yeah, so
So you don't plant
we
ash
don't
trees.
plan ash.
But I think that you can remove 25 to 30 from the budget as a whole, and then they can allocate it either to planting or the ash borer, whatever it works out, I think.
Okay, so you're saying do no planting this year, remove the 20,000.
That's what I would leave the money in for yeah, and I said if they don't want to do that or if we do a shared service, then they can reallocate the balance towards the planting.
Can I just make a, throw out an idea? Can this be considered an emergency if we find that we were infected?
If, once you're infected,
We're sitting here discussing it now.
Alan is our.
If a tree was affected and it fell down and we had to call somebody in to clean it up or remove it, that would count. But not, yeah.
We figure out that somewhere, we have an infestation somewhere in town, so we're gonna protect our other trees. So at that point,
If,
we try to protect our other trees,
By preventive maintenance and treatment.
would that be considered an emergency for us? Alan answered that question by saying no, because we're talking about it now.
yeah, I don't know whether,
Anticipating an emergency.
yeah, as far as the procurement rules go, yeah, I don't know if that would
Yeah.
apply. So,
What are we lowering it?
I guess we're lowering it by 22,000?
So we're just
But do we have?
eliminating any
budget
new
that
tree
we can
plantings
cover?
for the year?
You can't
And then if
go-
we can reduce that 30, then they can reallocate it.
I suppose, I don't know, if you take the 30 out, then they're gonna come back and ask us to put some money in addition, and you're not gonna use it at all. Unless you wanna put the whole thing in, that's up to you guys. If you wanna keep the whole thing in, you keep the whole thing
Or
in.
do you want me to go back and talk to them?
Mr. Mayor, but if we remove the 22,000, we have a contingency plan that we can treat the situation if it becomes emergency, right?
No, leave the 30 in.
You're gonna leave that in. What I'm saying is if you had to pick a priority between new trees or protecting the old ones, I'd say the priority is to protect the old ones.
There you go, fine.
So we take out
Or,
22.
but if the council wants to include both, but we keep talking about setting priorities,
How about this?
Priority,
Why
they
don't
can
we
leave
talk
it in.
about this next Saturday? Why don't we put this, Alan, if you could put down a note. That's what I recommend. Let me get a little bit more information from them.
How many trees we're looking at maybe is one of the questions?
Yeah.
And also, are all these trees that we're protecting, are they healthy and expected to last long? Because if they're not initially, then why are we protecting them?
or you move the 22,000 to capital. For the planting. Like you've done in the past.
And then if we needed to remove it, we could.
I'm not a fan of considering trees a capital asset, but we've done that in the past. So you don't have to pay the whole amount.
But then it was a 3-year program, it couldn't just be a 1-year allocation, I think last time is what we had to do. But,
No, you thought it was a 3-year program, they spent all the money in the first
One,
year.
yeah.
That's why 20,000 would be, I think it was 45,000 for 3
Yeah,
years, they
what?
spent 45 for 1 year.
Year.
So you'd put 15,000 each year, you can do that too.
But if we do that, then we can reduce this immediately, put it into capital, and if we need to take it out of capital, we can do that later.
Because you can't put in open space, that's the problem with the trees.
Yes.
Why is that?
That's the interpretation. I don't know if
You can do trees in capital?
we can put trees in capital, but we can't take them out of open space. Figure that.
Now, let me ask you about 2061.
No,
Wait,
we gotta make a
We
motion.
gotta make the motion.
So we're gonna make a motion to remove, the tree planting of 60 trees, for $22,000 from operating, and simultaneously make a motion to put $22,000 into the capital budget for trees, so that we can move forward at this time.
Is there a second? Does somebody want to amend the motion?
I would amend the motion to remove the $22,000 from operating.
So there's no set, wait.
So
There's no second on,
does.
Yeah, your motion.
Councilman Pepper's motion, so then we need another motion.
I would make a motion to remove $22,000 from operating.
Is there a second on that?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Constantine, you wanted to look at something else? Constantine? You wanted,
Yeah, I was asking about the 2060-152, the vehicle maintenance, which makes sense to increase the expenditure for 124, more than we have older trucks. Now that we buy the new trucks, we still maintain the same expenditure for the next year?
yes, because this includes all the police vehicles, all the fire vehicles, and all the borough vehicles. The maintenance is ongoing.
Okay.
I'd go back to, which one was I on?
What line was that?
He was talking about vehicle maintenance.
No, I know, I'm just curious. what line.
I would go back to 263053, the garbage for the apartments. We budgeted 157, we spent 131. And
If I may, go ahead.
every year, we tend to keep pushing up, and the actual cost never seem to.
Remember, the 1231 number you're looking at does not include bills that have not been encumbered, or set up as an accounts payable, so this one in January, and get right back to this budget. So, Peter, I don't know if you can speak to this.
Yes, we're still waiting on about 21,000 for 2 different apartment buildings.
This is based on what they actually send us for bills.
You just, no, I don't think they have to go, they just send it to us. The only thing we can do is call them and we'll pick it up. That's what we can.
I know.
That's what Tom said, we do a little trial. Yeah.
And to answer that question, we've spoken with, many years ago, I spoke with the superintendents of those apartments, and they did say, we will put 200 garbage cans out curbside if that's what you want us to do. So we ended up negotiating these agreements with their attorney's advice. We always look at it fresh again, but,
No, would be,
we tried something, we tried something else.
Yeah.
You're saying there's $20,000 still to come?
Yes, 2 apartment buildings.
20,000 from each or 20,000 total?
20 from one, and I think one is about 1,500 or so.
Okay. So
How
that
can it
would
be
put us-
20,000, that's 20% of the year, how can that be of the total expenditure? How can you expect $20,000 more when the whole year was 130 and say there's still 20,000 more after 1 month?
They go crazy around the holidays. About Amazon.
So, I think we're gonna end up paying, here's what I thought we were gonna pay 155 to get to this 162, I added 1.7% cost of living adjustment, and then,
if Atkins comes online, I guess another $4,000 for that one. If you feel it's not gonna come online, then you could certainly cut the.
It won't be this calendar year.
Well,
That won't-
you
that
know,
won't be
somebody
on.
make that judgment call, you know, reduce it.
I mean, they don't even
That's why I
have-
got the
that's
option
not-
too.
I'd be wondering how you can get a fifth of the budget coming after 1 month at the end of the year. That's just, I think that needs to be audited.
I don't know, I mean, I think we can reduce that to
Well,
150. but-
sorry?
That question can be answered, I think, you know, we put it on hold and talk about it one day next week. You know, why the bill is coming in so late, what the bill is.
Well, I'm just wondering why, do you see my point? If you spend $130,000 for the year, how could one bill after 1 month account for?
One of the apartment buildings, I think, run about 19,000, per quarter. I think it's Continental Apartments, I'm not sure.
So it's a bill for a quarter, not for a month.
It's, yes, for a quarter, they bill
Okay.
in quarters.
Okay, so there you go. It's 3
I still think, and not necessarily today, I think this needs to be audited about what we're paying and the structure of these contracts and how much we're paying per ton and what they're picking up, and are we subsidizing the service? Because our obligation is only to pay them back in kind for what the borough service would be. So if they're getting more frequent pickup than the average resident, if they're getting bulk pickups, if they're getting other benefits through their services that we do not pay for our average residents, we're not obligated to pay back to them either. So I think that's something that,
And also, are they under obligation to provide us with quotations, fair quotation, right? So
yeah,
give us three
exactly.
numbers
I
and
mean,
we'll
that's,
have the price.
that's part of it too.
Sounds like a great job for the contracts
Yes.
committee here on our all work session nights. I will prepare this as part of their agenda. Thank you.
I'm not on that committee.
No, but I think it's about time we did that, because it becomes an issue. And even on the recycling, I know we get there. I'm not exactly sure if we pick it all up or is anybody paying for private recycling. So I think we just need to get all that refocused and to see where,
There's a lot of legal implications in this particular aspect of garbage collection. So I think court decisions are appropriate for our contracts.
yeah, no, I'm not suggesting there may be anything wrong, but I'm thinking that we have an obligation to look at it because
Yeah.
it's a big number. And make sure that it's balanced as to what, you know, we run into this with snow removal. You know, we have to pay back for snow removal, but if the private hauler does their sidewalks and he clears the individual driveways and all those other things, we're not obligated to pay for that extra service. And it's similar with this, so. I said, if they more frequent pickup or get other benefits, then I think there might be room for changes in that, but something worth looking at.
Are there any questions on this particular item?
Sorry.
That's one other thing that we're taking it out, I know Al said, well, it'd be great, you know, all of a sudden we have to pick up 20,000 new garbage cans. But what about us providing the dumpster as part of our package and then adding that to the tonnage and all that stuff that we already work with, right? So you don't need to give them individual garbage cans, you just need to provide them with a dumpster.
Correct, that's probably, yes, because that's probably the way it is now. You know, they're not,
That's what I'm saying.
yeah, their haulers aren't going in and picking up individual cans.
Just give them the dumpster as part of our package.
Yeah.
Which would in turn.
Most of the time they don't, because they get, you know, most of the time they don't want to do that because they do get other benefits from the package, so.
Now you go where I'm going.
I thought you looked into that when you negotiated the last garbage contract. And I think it would have been, it would have.
No, we took it away from the churches and the school.
Right.
That's what we did. We took those dumpsters away. We didn't
I
take-
thought that there was a conversation about if we provide them with a dumpster and our contractors were able to pick up that dumpster on the same frequency that we pick up the rest of the town, that the cost of that portion of the contract would have been more than what we're paying the Boston contract themselves. That's just a.
Yes, it's Alan.
We did do that at one time. It was suggested that maybe we look at that Again, last year, your recollection is pretty close. We got into other garbage discussions, and we went out to bid for other garbage options. We did not address the apartments within those bids. This is certainly something the contracts committee can consider and recommend to us that we do a bid on the apartments this year.
And
That's what they want
we
us
had
to
talked
do.
informally about looking at a different bidding structure for garbage anyway, looking at shared services. We had talked about that informally amongst ourselves, so I think that's something that would be incorporated into any new request for proposals.
Are there any motions on this? Account here? If not, we can move on.
Okay.
Mayor?
Yes.
I hate to be the one to do it, but, damn it. Just 2552, I'm sure there's an excellent reason, I just don't know what it is, so maybe we can be enlightened. There's a 43.81% increase in the fire operating expense. I'm just curious about that one. Just on the fire line, there's a
25-2552.
there's a 43% increase. I'm sure there's a good reason. I'm just curious what it is. Okay, and if that's what it is, I'm in favor.
What is it?
I asked last year.
I think it's probably clothing allowance.
Oh.
You want me to go to it, or?
Yes.
No, I mean, if you could,
Question was
is it
asked.
the clothing line?
I don't know, I assume it was, but I don't know.
No.
No.
No, this is,
But it should be
it's not a clothing expense, it's a,
should be more, I think
It's
it
a
should be
re-
salary and wage, but we don't consider it that.
I just want to make sure it's not duplicate with, maintenance that's already covered in PPW and things like that, or in capital.
Or I guess there's the, whatever they call it, firefighter expense reimbursement, $35,000.
And that's an increase from last year? I think it is.
They have 48 members and 9 officers on that.
And who is the bottom, did he any reason?
No, the increase is 32,650, so.
Yeah. I just want to make sure there's not duplication, that's all. I mean, I know they added a lot of new members recently, so perhaps it's related to that. But I just didn't see an increase in the LoSAP, so one would assume that there'd be an increase in the LoSAP also.
I had 26,000 last year for this line.
Okay.
Are they anticipating requesting an increase in, that's an awfully large
Yeah, it is.
amount. So I don't know whether they're looking at an increase or.
I mean, perhaps it's just bringing
Now,
it back
what's,
into the...
what's the down total on this budget?
107,000, I had 74,000 last year.
No, go back up.
Well,
Because I saw the scuba, the air packs and everything were in this 107, so
Well, that's, I was just curious if there's a,
like the air tanks, are you in that under capital?
Here,
Yeah.
Air tanks is not scuba, I think you're talking about a scuba, clothing, you're talking about
The Scott
air
tanks
tanks.
are under
yeah,
capital.
but we have an air tank. That's the SCBA bottles,
Yeah,
right?
that's what
Isn't
I'm
that
saying,
the
that's
replacement?
duplicate. Isn't that a duplicate? Yeah. Oh,
Look.
let's see if they have any explanation there.
There's I saw about radios.
Fill this out down here. Well, we asked them for a justification here, when we have an increase.
No, but I'm just looking at the line items, and I'm just thinking there's duplicates.
Just go up.
Start at the top.
This is what I have for the capital. I don't see the Scott tax on capital.
firefighters has dramatically changed.
They have, they said 48 members and 9 officers.
So we need to look at it. Very familiar to the next level.
Yeah.
I mean, if the increase is just bringing what was the expense line up to where it historically was, I'm in favor of that. I just want to make sure there wasn't duplications and.
What's the 45,000 for?
We don't
Yeah.
know, just as reimbursements.
Should we have a clearer understanding what that is? I mean, I see that there's tax clothing allowance for 8,000, so it's not.
No, it's
No,
not.
that's,
When we have employees who are also firefighters, we have to put that on their income tax as a taxable fringe benefit. So many years ago, it was discussed among the council, what we do is compensate them for the fact that they have
They
to
get
declare that as
taxed.
income. So that's what that $8,000 does, it compensates them.
Gotcha.
Non-employees get, a 1099.
Right. Gotcha.
I mean, the air tank line is different. I mean, it's 5,100 there, and then but it just says related items, so I don't know. One is for replacing tanks, and then one may be just valves or something like that. I mean, that's possible. Like I said, I think it's just, if it's just putting the expense reimbursement back to where it historically was, I would be in favor.
I think I remember them saying the other night that back several years ago, it used to be at 45, and then they had all of the, because we had to have furloughs and all that stuff. And this is what they were saying. It ended up going down. And we had 26,000 last year, and now they're looking to get back up to what it used to be.
Maybe during a very tough budget year, they volunteered to
Yes.
take less in that area. I'm trying to think,
Yeah.
remember the explanation, but maybe.
That's what they said, and now they're trying to
But they
bring
feel
it back.
There's a need to reestablish where they were,
Yeah.
So it might have been a sacrifice that they made.
That was what was explained to me, but, being new on this, I wasn't quite sure what they came down from.
That makes total sense to me. So I have no problem.
Maybe, Mary, you could just ask them about the Scott pack, because I think it's.
I think the council's right, I think
No.
it's ancillary. I just think a 40% increase in the budget is a lot for 1 year.
Yeah.
But
So maybe we could move them up from the 26 to,
the reduction
smaller than
several
25.
years ago was tough budgetary times.
that's what they had explained to me.
So I don't have a problem putting it back to where it historically was prior to those problems. That's all.
I don't either.
I'm good. I said just anything that was over like 3 or 4%, I was just, just going down the list.
And the next thing was maintenance of parks. Which,
I'm guessing though that's because we use open space for that, so Alan probably puts it back in case we're not using open space, but Alan could correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, that would be a request that would come from John, but, it's always been my recommendation that if that's in here, that we could, give that a good faith consideration under open space.
What's the basis to be reauthorized this year?
We can have that on here
37.50.
at the next public meeting.
I mean, it has to go on the ballot this year.
Yeah.
But the 5 year is out this year. Yeah. Hopefully we can before
I'm curious about,
the season is done.
I'm curious about 32, page 3, 32, 4652. It's at the very top of the page, 4 lines down. Bergen County landfill, we budgeted $250,000, we paid $184,000. Now we're budgeting even more, $267,000. We're all going up by 6% or 17,000, and we did not spend the 184 unless we have some, it's not up to date.
Probably not up to date yet, but.
This is up to me.
Yeah, our landfill, yeah.
Apologize, but I'm not up to that account, I'm back on.
No, it's fine.
And this does include the $9,500 that we have considered under open space and repairs.
How much, 95?
$9,500.
So that can be moved?
Open space and repairs,
That's
we're
not much.
at 13.3, up to, it is at 14.2 now, but, it's $9,500 is what open space is, doing for repairs. Going back to 2006.
Yeah, so you can move that back over.
Is there a motion to do anything with this particular one?
I would make the motion to reduce it to the 3580 amount, or the 3800 amount, with the understanding that we will make a good faith effort to supplement that through open space.
Second?
Second, good thing? Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I don't know about those.
Tom, to your
boxes,
point,
those may not-
we transferred $40,000.
This is what we historically do.
Other expenses, so, we probably can reduce that line.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Which one?
This is page 3,
the typical-
32-4652, Bergen County landfill. What do you think, Ed?
We transferred 40,000 out of it, so obviously there was a surplus in that line last year, $40,000.
So we reduced by 40?
Okay.
Or we reduced by 57, because it has an increase of 17. I think we reduced it 57, but.
Well, I don't know whether we're current, we'd have to see if we're current. Did we pay the, yeah, so.
So we reduced
We,
40
we
right
paid,
now?
we paid a charge 184. In December is a heavier tipping month,
Yeah.
because of Christmas.
Probably get it down to 220 and be comfortable, I would think, but
Yeah, and you're probably,
225.
you probably can do something like that for now.
Let's do 220. So I make a motion to remove reduce 32-4652 Bergen County landfill from 267,000 to 220,000.
Your second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We could go back
Once,
Yeah, sure.
Increase that to 220?
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, 220,000.
Yes, Councilman.
Just, I guess, looking at 314472 and 314482, the petroleum and natural gas lines.
Thirty-one, 4472?
Yeah. And it looks like we allocated 95,000, about a little less than 60,000 was spent. I mean, you know, we've had a fairly mild winter thus far. Obviously, that could change, but I don't know, the weather patterns seem like they're probably going to hold. I think maybe we could reduce that line at least back to the 95,000 level from last year.
Maybe more.
No, which one are we looking at?
I'm trying to be,
What is it, 30?
4472.
4472.
314472.
it's down at the bottom.
No, I'm looking at the actual budget.
Is there a question for you? Is petroleum cost going up? I know it's going up for us.
We're not subject to that
I know
tax.
it's subject to taxes, but is the raw product going up?
I mean, I'm not a if I was an expert in, the commodities market, I wouldn't be sitting here, but,
As of now, it's going on because of
What are your
production.
priorities?
That is expected to go up in the near future, that's how I understand the trend. But I don't know how much it's gonna be impacting our, county, because we don't pay the tax.
I mean, even if it does go up, I mean, if we only allocated 60,000 and we budgeted 95, I don't know if a 30% increase is we're gonna see that type of.
Yeah, but the year before we went over, I think that was,
Where were we?
1 year we were over, that's why we brought it back up at one point.
Well, that's what I'm saying, if we kept it at 95,
Yeah, I
we would
would
be-
say keep it 95. That's
Yeah.
yeah, that's what was my recommendation was. So I'd make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And then
So that's another
31,4482.
23, 15, plus
314402.
That's right.
82.
82,
Right beneath it.
1 underneath. Electricity and natural gas. We're budgeting the same amount, but if you look at last year's paid and committed, it was almost $60,000.
You have all the bills on
We
here?
haven't extended bills yet, which is usually like 20,000,
About the high.
21,000.
Even assuming it's 25,000 or 24,000, I mean, that brings you,
250.
yeah, so it might be,
10,000?
I think you could probably bring it, 250, 25,000 down, that's what I would, probably what you can go.
I mean, I'd make that recommendation to bring it to 250.
250. I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I have a question for the 31463, the increase in utility rates affect the town, because we keep the same budget.
What's that?
They increased the rates for the utility in New Jersey and New York. Will they affect our town the gas prices, natural gas?
We're part of a co-op.
Okay.
I don't know when, we're part of the NJ7,
Yes.
right? I think their prices are
Well,
like
they're
next
buying
year.
futures, actually, but futures.
No, but I think our prices are fixed until next year.
Can I ask a question? These two items, where did the budget number come from?
It's historical use,
No, when did Alan, when did
Late?
the 275 come from 15 to 50,000 number come from? I'm sorry, the 123 and 275. Are those your numbers? Did they come from John?
Petroleum comes from John.
but we have historical usage on that,
Yeah,
so we're,
I'm just,
yeah.
you know, I'd like to know, who somebody's making a recommendation, I'd like to know what that recommendation is based upon, before it's necessarily cut. Because it's historical use. We're using two different.
Yeah, well, that's what I said for you, I mean, we all know, there are very few line items where there's any room for discretion. This is one of them. You have to hedge your bets sometimes, so you can't cut it too close, because you need that cushion in there in case market conditions change.
I'm trying to understand why somebody made a budget request based upon.
Because they may have taken the 5-year high or whatever, but when we're looking at the paid and committed over the last couple of years, that's what we sort of do, and then say, you know what, Alan would prefer we keep it that way because it would go to surplus fund balance at the end of the year if we don't spend it. Where we have to look at also the impact on the taxpayer, so you have to sort of balance that out.
Yeah, I mean, in the last year, we had the one major snowstorm, but then that was largely it. So, it may have dropped off, and he's looking at a year where there was heavy snow, which drives our petroleum costs, so. But doesn't seem like it's getting out of the 40s anytime soon.
So,
What about the capital improvement fund? Last year we put.
we already figured that,
Yeah,
based on the capital. What is it
It's gone
now,
down.
1 to 140?
136 or something like that, I think it was.
What was the number?
Improvement fund?
Yeah, I thought it dropped down to about 136.
Want me to switch?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how much we reduced, because I don't really think it's been as much as we think it has.
Something like that.
130, 190.
It's gone down a decent amount.
I think it's at 130.
So it's gone down.
Just curious, are we gonna be going?
Did you put
past
those
the-
changes in along on the salary or no?
Everything that you've been throwing at is capital.
You don't yell at me, I'm just
Maybe I'll take a couple of hours.
No,
There's CDMs in the ass.
I'm just trying to.
I'll teach you to have them.
Stomach. I did, but
I need like the bread to soak up somewhere. Yes.
So I think I'm up to like 340 net. So 340 net off the 978. We're still at 634. We're still way over.
It's the,
Yeah, I know, but that's still, so right now, we're still at $167, $170 tax increase. Just for everybody's record.
That keeping my community center?
Whatever we change,
Just check.
and you guys can vote for $170 tax increase. I'm not.
What will we
you can't,
I know, so don't
Yeah,
split,
so don't
because
worry.
I'm not voting on it.
What was last year's increase?
where's the sound outrageous with
70?
recycling?
Oops.
Year before, we had 28. So I think for, Alan, going back to just, if you want to just close with this, with deferred charges, I guess you'd be okay with keeping a couple of the small ones and then deferring the other ones if we go to a bond sale, right? That's usually your
I
practice.
think we bring it down to about $18,000 instead of what you're looking at in front of you of $200,000. Trying to pay off some of the delinquencies instead of going to bond sale. If we do get through a sale this year, which I recommend,
You would keep, what, the 13,000 for 794 and maybe the 9,000 one?
try and find my.
While Alan's doing that, maybe just, the personnel subcommittee could weigh in on this one. The salary and wages for recycling was 192 last year. It was only spent 87,795, but it's back to 177,000. What's the
I have to.
difference? Why?
No, don't call,
The budget needs to be adjusted based on actual charges.
yeah, it's, and you gotta all split it out. The total, we look at the aggregate, and it's not much of a.
I know this
We actually
DPW is split over
Yeah,
like
and that's
different
the issue.
lines.
We reduced two, John had one of three full-time positions, and we're only gonna recommend one.
So that line,
The whole thing, well, no, they all get split out, however, so. It was only a net reduction of maybe 60 in salaries, but that should be reflected out here. And, I don't know if Alan adjusted the benefits yet.
Can I just ask, are we done? Or can I
No,
ask
let
a
him do
question?
that.
2902, public repairs and maintenance. If we move forward with the purchase of those vehicles, are we going to be able to, that number will
This is not just those vehicles, it's all the police vehicles, all the fire vehicles.
John has historically thought we've been underfunding that line,
Okay.
so.
well, public repairs maintenance, is that the cars or is it the building maintenance?
Which one are we talking about now?
262902.
That might be building maintenance?
Public.
Because then we have, don't we have a lot?
Yeah, you're
Public
right.
buildings and grounds, we also have,
But let's let Alan do one thing at a time.
Yeah.
vehicle numbers.
We had that recommendation as correspondence, Mayor, just have to find it for you, they did the listing and there it is. Yeah, number 13, correspondence, current recommendation that you see up here is $231,527.60. I've got 4 ordinances remaining, totaling special assessments, and it's not prudent to go out to a sale, on a sale for a small amount of money. When you go out to sell, you either go out for general obligation bonds or local improvement bonds. Because the amount for the local improvements is so small, it's not cost effective to include any professional expenses for that expense alone. So I'd rather pay those off and just deal with the general obligation bonds. Bond counsel is in agreement with me on that as well. So if you want to look at $18,527.60 as opposed to the $231,000.
But how do you want it split out? Let's be specific.
I have before it, $1794.87.
So why don't, yeah, so if you want to read what you recommend.
Yeah, 6 times 13 shows $1794.87.85.
$87.85, okay.
1822, $6,891.84. 828, $9,634.20. 1835, $1,913.71 for a total of $18,000.
I'm sorry, I missed that last number, Alan.
$1,913.71.
Okay. So,
The reduction is $214,000.
does someone want to make a motion to accept Alan's recommendations?
So moved.
I'm sorry, I don't want to vote on something, I lost track of what we were doing.
Well, some of the surcharges unfunded.
Oh,
So
so that's what
since we're going to a bond sale, we
Yeah.
can reduce some of those payments, and Alan made the recommendation based on consult with the bond counsel, and I agree with him that, so we're gonna, the deferred charge 1794 will be $87.85.
Oh, give me each.
So just so, yeah, so we get it clear. So, 1806 is zero anyway, 1810 is zero anyway, 1822 will be $6,891.84. 1828 will be the same, $9,634.20. 1835 will be $1,913.17. 1836, 1837, and 1865 will be brought to zero because they'll be funded through the bond sale. Did I get that correct, Alan?
Yes.
Okay. So we have a motion for that.
Make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Alan, can you give us an updated number, correspondence 13 for the next meeting?
Yeah, for next meeting, I'll update the whole budget.
Awesome.
And Mayor, I'd make a motion to, at this point, to adjourn for today, just so that we can get the updated total and then actually see where we're at.
Yeah, we're about $115 increase right now, based on my numbers.
I know, I just want to get a clean sheet.
50 or 16?
115.
115.
115, yeah. And just so we didn't talk about it, but Alan, we'll just bring up revenues for 1 second. It's going to look a little deceiving.
So we have a listing of our revenues on the left-hand side. We have 4 major sources of revenue. You can see we have surplus, and we have miscellaneous revenues anticipated. We have delinquent taxes and the pool revenue that we have to rely on our property taxes. So here you have 3 of the revenue sources. We have a budget as it's been adopted, the budget as amended, usually by grants that we receive. What has been realized, there's been an excess or deficit, and then the percentage on that excess or deficit. This column is important, it goes into our state budget. The state has a rule that we cannot anticipate in the future budget more than what we realized in the prior year unless we make special application and get approval from the state of New Jersey. So, you'll see under licenses, alcohol and beverages, we've got 15,000 from last year, when we realized 15,050, in excess of $50. This is my council recommendation at this time, $15,000. Eventually, it will become the approved mayor and council citizens budget committee approval column. So this is the number that goes into our tax rate calculation. Total of all of these, 2,437,000 at this point, as opposed to 2,519,000. So, looking at these one at a time, we have the surplus from last year, and right now, I just kept it the same. We will be looking at what our final numbers are in a week or so in that particular area. And then alcoholic beverages, source costs, we have slight excess of $13,000, but my recommendation is to go to 130 again. I'm looking at the fund balance policy, which basically talked about one of those 3 points about keeping this a very conservative number, so that when you do have an excess that goes to your fund balance and builds those reserves that the outside and the institutional community is looking at in terms of our financial stability. Fees and permits, we have a slight deficit in this particular area, $6,000. I'm bringing it down to no more than the realized $50,000 here. Interest and costs on taxes, we're $95,000. Again, we have not achieved that level. We had a deficit of $7,000. $80,000, I'm keeping it here. I should mention that if you have what's called a cash deficit, you don't bring in enough revenue to support your expenses, that difference goes into next year's budget as a line item. The state of New Jersey, being as conservative as it is, does not let you just say, oh, well, we made a mistake, we just get enough money in. Now it becomes part of your issue for the following year budget. Okay, interest on investments and deposits have improved to $7,000 realized. I'm going to 3,000. That's because of our improved cash balances as well as the slight rise in interest rates. So that's a good area, a positive area. Uniform construction code fees. We were just slightly over the target, 205,000. Again, I keep it at a conservative 190. The cable television fee, that's an actual check that we should get within the next several weeks, so we'll see whether we go over the 158,000. We did realize this last year, so I want to see what those checks look like. This is subject to revision. Reserve for sale of assets, I kept the same. You could look at some small growth in this, and it would be sustainable going forward, perhaps to $10,000, but I'll leave that to the council to decide. Energy, what's the next item here? Police outside duty. When the police officers are on overtime on a outside contractor, we receive a portion of that bill payment because of the expenses. We pay the overtime, we pay the overhead, we pay the expenses related to the car. So that comes back to us as a revenue source. We did achieve $98,000. I'm anticipating $50,000 based on historical average, but again, it depends on what projects you have going on in town. So last year, we had Adams Avenue, that they ripped up all of Adams Avenue, and we needed police protection. They were out there for several weeks, so you have to look at that. But we could go up to the realized amount here.
Can I ask you a question? Do you do an analysis of the cost for the police duty? Because that's all about our overtime, right?
Well, we did many years ago, we did a cost breakdown version, we can increase it by cost of living.
You don't make a comparison every year.
Not every year.
We have a very generous reimbursement rate that we charge outside contractors.
These two are from the state of New Jersey, so we have to wait and see when they adopt their budget. We get to go ahead and include these in our budget from the state. These are the energy receipts, taxes, and the Garden State Preservation. Those two come from the state. Uniform Fire Safety Act is our fire prevention officer. We have a slight excess here. I'm not quite sure.
I don't mean to cut you off, but I know people are looking like they want to leave. But can we just go to the bottom, because I want to ask something? The way I'm looking at it right now, your recommendations at 2.4 million. We budgeted 2.5 something last year. It's about $80,000 difference. Could you look through the revenues and see if there's any way we can match last year's revenues, or else that's another $21 tax increase that we didn't increase. So the 115 becomes 135 if we don't change the revenue.
Okay.
And you put it on me to change.
I'm asking if you're, I'm asking, because I'm looking, you might be able to get a little bit out of the delinquent taxes and a couple of the other ones. I'm looking for 80,000. Or bring it to the finance committee, but I'm asking for, if there's a way, I'm not holding you to, I'm just telling you as an aggregate. If we keep that the same, you only need to look at the appropriation side when you're calculating your taxes, or else you have to start looking at the differences, because now that just becomes an excess cost now.
We can go a little bit.
So,
I'll look at that.
that way it's, these things, because this is actually now, that difference is actually becoming an expense to us. Because we have to make up the difference in the taxes. You're increasing revenue, you're decreasing the revenue, but increasing your spending, so that gap is more. So, with that, Alan will book all these charges. I think, something just, you were correct, you said we had a meeting scheduled for Monday, which I don't think, we're gonna have. We'll reconvene next Saturday with all Alan Chambers. I don't know what more we would be able to do after that. And the other one we have to be wary of, is our rut. It looked like the collections may have been a little less, and if every 10% it's off, it's another $25,000, we have to raise it. So again, that's another $15 on the tax rate. So we'll go back to February 10th. So we'll see where we are next Saturday.
Absolute number is February 10th, but if we plan on having maybe close to a wrap-up meeting on February 4th.
I think,
Because, what did I say, we have to introduce the budget, there's no schedule.
well, this is the early end,
We're looking at no later than February 21st, to introduce
but
it.
that's on the,
And that's our public meeting.
yeah, but that's the early schedule. That's not the revised schedule the state's gonna let us.
But on February 4th, I might be able to have your.
If you have all
less number and rut and work out some of those final numbers. I still need a week or two to close the books on everything.
And we may at some point be able to reduce the Bergen County sewer from 7% down to
Yeah, I'm guessing
2%.
we'll probably
So
lower
it
that
would
by
be-
maybe 15 or 20. That's about it.
Sure.
Okay.
What I would ask Alan, I don't know, I think we should, how many days will it take you to update all this? Would you be able to get us stuff by midweek, an updated position summary? So I think we could schedule a meeting for next week, depending on where the position summary is. I don't know, unless people are gonna be prepared to come in and make further recommendations for reductions. I don't even see the point of the meeting next week, to be honest with you, unless there's gonna be significant discussion on reductions. Until we have, I don't, we might even, the following week, when we have the rut, and we have the surplus, and we have everything final. But, we can still schedule it, but I'd like to see what the position statement is by midweek.
So it might be canceled.
So we're talking about the 4th,
Well, we're gonna schedule for the next 2 Saturdays, but
but maybe not.
if, we'll see what the position, we'll see what reduces, and then I don't know how much more you're gonna be able to do, or,
We'll get an email as the schedule.
yeah. Well, assume we're gonna have it, but I said I wanted to see the updated position summary, and then we'll make a decision if it makes sense to have a meeting on Saturday.
I mean, the thing is, though, assuming the rut stays the same, surplus stays the same, and we can match revenue, we're still at $115 tax increase.
Yep.
So unless you're comfortable with that, we have to find cuts. I mean, that's
No,
the,
it goes out to the first joint after the.
No area,
so,
We still don't know what's gonna happen.
sorry?
Still don't know.
Yeah, we do, it's the same as last year. They said it'll be the same.
I think it has some effectiveness. It's been kind of hard getting the committee together to do this.
My question was when you mentioned the second look at the numbers for the community center is being conducted,
Mhm.
and when do you think that will be completed? Because that's our real number, so that's
Yeah,
what
that
we're really
makes a
looking
big
at.
difference in what we're doing.
No, it doesn't.
You don't think so?
No, we're right now,
See,
if
you
if
know
anything.
stuff we don't know.
No, I told you exactly the numbers are. We're at 1.5, we're looking to have 1.7 on the books. we're hoping that the review will bring the 1.4 down to a couple 100,000, and we can add in and get a better number on the site work. We're still, I don't think that number's going to change. The 1.7 is gonna be what we're going to need. But if he comes back to us and says, no, the 1.5 is actually 2, then we've got a bigger problem.
Then we got.
That's what
Well,
I'm
you're
trying to,
right,
that's
and
what
that
I'm,
changes.
that's what I'm guarding it, because then you're not doing the project.
That's what I'm saying.
But,
And then.
So that changes
well, then,
everything.
but then, I don't know if you're gonna, if you can't abandon the project at all, then you need to come up with alternatives. So you can't leave the building standing the way it
No,
is.
the building
You
has to be
can't
knocked
do,
down,
so,
no matter
that, but no one can advocate doing that unless there was a plan to replace it.
But to the point that I think we do need to know what the second look looks like.
Well,
If it comes
yeah.
back at 2, then we have.
Then we're
we have
okay.
More clarity of our
Yeah.
decision.
But again, not really, because even if you pull that 500,000 out, there's only $20,000 on the budget right now. So it's not gonna have an impact on the tax increase. That doesn't even offset the increase in the revenue, the decrease in the revenue. So, that's not.
We have to find cuts in the operating and salaries and things. That's where you're gonna
And
find.
there's still some potential on the police overtime, which we're waiting to see. But I don't know how you go back now, the library's advocated or asked for a $40,000 increase, but since we allowed everybody else to have commensurate increases, I don't know how you go back to them and say they can't have a commensurate increase, but that's something that can be considered as well. So.
You mean in their operating or in their
No,
salary?
their salaries. Operating, they went up too a little bit, but that was part of his strategic plan that he's been phasing in, so if you want to discuss that further. But that ties in, because the strategic plan is to add more opening hours, and add more opening hours, obviously, you gotta increase your salaries to cover that, and that's, I think, the way he's planned it. But so we'll see what the actual book number is, but, unless I'm adding wrong. Anyway, we'll have to see what the book numbers are, but to get where we were in terms of tax increases, we know for $70, it's one for 70, tell you what it's gonna be, $70. For a $70 increase, the net increase in the budget can be $281,000. We're about 400 right now, so quite a ways.
It's nickel and dime.
Motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.